Hello.
Hey,
How's it going today?
well, at least it's not a hurricane today.
Ugh, jeez, eh?
I was worried about it hitting us more dead on, and then it kept moving more and more north, which is better for me.
For sure.
And but also, then it's moving so slow that it's gonna hit tomorrow instead of this morning.
Oh, so it's a
So it's
whole
like a
day
day
later?
late. Yeah, it's
Wow.
it's like sluggish moving, but it's like it's gonna by the time it hits the Florida coast, it's gonna be like 100 miles an hour. So.
That's pretty fast though. That seems like
Yeah, well,
for
yeah, there's going
wind.
to be 12 feet of storm surge.
Holy
I don't
shit.
know about you, but that's pretty freaking high.
That's scary.
Yeah,
That's a
that's like
big
tidal wave, small one, I guess, but you know,
right.
it's yeah. So there's going to be, hopefully, a lot of people leave. The sad thing
Yeah.
is, a lot of people can't because there's this thing called capitalism.
Yep.
It wants to charge everything for everything, and human decency has a price.
Yeah. We there was some fires up in the Northwest Territories here, and the airlines were charging people to fly them out of evacuation zones.
That's disgusting.
Like, what the fuck?
Seriously.
Yeah, like this should be at the very least the government should be paying for it, right? Like at the very least. But these people are supposed to somehow come up with money out of their own pockets to fly out of an evacuation zone. So they're
It's
like an
disgusting
entire
because
towns have been
airlines are
burned down.
rich.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, they can bullshit all they want. Airlines are rich.
Yeah, that's right.
So
Yeah.
the fact that they wouldn't do the human decency thing goes back to the same thing I feel like, which I posted a meme just of mine, or that art I drew, whatever, about how I question, it shows a person, uh, it's Jeff Bezos, but my image, because it's a bald headed guy and obviously he's clean shaven, so it's not me. Anyway,
Right.
and the person is squeezing the earth and blood is coming out and they're drinking it. That's how I see
Yeah.
rich people. I mean, I'm sorry, but you've done it to yourself. Unless
Yeah.
you're an absolute philanthropist and out there helping people all the time. Yeah, I don't have respect for you. Sorry, I just don't. It's disgusting
No.
because I this is why I don't respect you. If I was in that position, I would do more. So
Yeah, that's
yeah,
right.
I mean, you don't do hardly anything, and some of them will say they do stuff, but they still do stuff more as an image thing. Like Bill Gates, I feel like Bill Gates has sold to the world that he is this. I'm not saying he doesn't do anything, but come
Sure.
on, the dude's
Yeah.
rich as shit.
Yeah.
Get the fuck out of here.
And most of it's like under the name of his federation or like his
Yeah,
like so it's all a tax write off and like it's all in the name of like producing more profit actually.
but I would say this just so because it's my feeling as a mutualist, or my feeling. And when I say mutualist, I mean mutualist anarchist, but it doesn't even matter. People have different labels for things, and I
Yeah.
probably don't follow all the labels because I haven't read enough. But my opinion is this: I have my goal, right? It's probably closer to Corey's, anarcho communism. That would be like
Right.
my goal society, or maybe council communism because I scored like almost 100% in that too. I mean,
Right.
like that's what I think it's one of either the highest under anarcho communism or. But anyways, because it goes back to the like I've heard one of your guests that you had on your show that talk about how they don't exactly define, anarchism, the way everyone else does, and they like voting. I told you before, I believe people should have a voice. All of
Right.
us. That is achieved by voting. Now, that doesn't mean that I like the current systems that are not
Yeah.
direct democracy voting. They're what's called representative democracy. Don't
Yeah.
like it at all. Now, it
Yeah.
doesn't mean, like I've told you before, that doesn't mean that I don't feel a social responsibility to do as a mutualist, going back to like I'm talking about.
Mm-hmm.
I should help as much as possible, and if I can, as often as possible,
Right.
period. Like I said, that's why I just called it, to make it simple for people, anarcho-humanism,
Right.
because I have no gods and no masters, but it's not just that, because
Right.
I also was good about God. So God is a title. No one's called God, just to break this down.
Yeah.
It's just like master is an authoritative title. So is God. Anyways. So, but my other part, that's the anarcho part of me in a sense.
Right.
I feel like, but also I think it's so odd because sometimes I guess individual anarchists sometimes seem to project that only they need to make sure that they're good. Like, well, I don't. That's where I don't
Yeah.
even understand that even for a second, because that's why I didn't even know, but I was an anarcho-communist in that sense. There is no such thing as a you. There is no
Right.
such thing as a group.
Separate from,
There's no such thing as a you either. In a sense,
Yeah,
you
that's
are
right.
not alone, and most people, even that think they're alone, are almost not alone. I mean, and they certainly didn't start alone because we had to have, somehow for us to get born. So,
Yeah, that's right.
But I feel like it goes back to too as a social responsibility. But when do you do crimes? Charge for things. It should be reasonable stuff. Well, same thing as morality.
Right.
It should be reasonable. What are you talking about? It's only about you. How can that be reasonable when we share the fucking earth?
Yeah. We're a social species, so we actually do, even when we think we're on independent, we're relying on each other. And
Right.
yeah, like you
Right,
say, and we all share the resources. We all share the earth. So
right, correct. So this is like we're doing a show on China, right? But ancient China and all that Neolithic China. But my point is, I want you to understand, though, look at a map.
yeah,
Take away all those lines. There's no border of China from anywhere else. Seriously. That's our shit. That's like made up crap.
yeah,
This
that's
stuff
right.
that we've made up, it's not really there. That's why there's so many migrations. That's why people don't grasp. It's one of the things as an anarchist that I like is to show how much we've moved the fuck around and been with other people and changed ideas because the whole point is stop the bigotry.
Yeah,
And let me tell you something. Like I told you, learning all this, because obviously I had to learn it first, but learning all this, it changed me. It made me feel more connected and less bigoted, even to religions and
right.
people that believe in gods or whatever. Even people that are not anarchists. Why I have sort of a mild approach to people, because I understand, and before I understood, because I didn't understand until about 35. So
Right.
before I understood, I thought like a lot of them did. I was even anti-gay. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. I think back
Right.
at my life, but it's about understanding where you're at, and that's why I try to push reality, not just atheism, but also, philosophy, reality thinking, and that's why I care about archaeology, even though
Right.
I myself have nothing to do with that, but other than enjoying it and utilizing it, their info, and then coming up with my ideas from the info in a sense. But
Right.
so that's not, once again, I told you, it's not that I totally support archaeologists and everything, their stuff. It's just they have hypotheses about things that sometimes don't agree with what I think I'm seeing. And that's but my stuff is not like, trying to, well, especially because I wanted that to blend into what we're talking about.
Yeah, for sure.
So it really helped me, like just saying where's Russia, which is supposedly in Europe, right? And in Siberia, part of Russia, which is actually in Asia, right? But there's no real line. I'm just saying that when you, I really, as I said, for me personally, I think for me, it was an easier way to connect with the world, learning archaeology, learning the facts, learning about cultures and history, than someone just saying care about it and it's the moral thing to do. Now it is, and I'm not saying you have to learn, but since I felt that this had really changed me. Learning all this stuff has really changed me. I mean, I think it's made me a better person, really. But so learning all this stuff, so that's why, like I said, I appreciate you helping, Corey. And I know that we're not in the normal anarchist show, but because I talk so much about religion and prehistory and stuff, because it really interests me. And like I said, I know that that's not normal, but I think it's also a good thing, because I feel like it makes it more approachable.
Right.
Like in other words, some person may not search, what does anarchists think or something. or whatever, or why do anarchists, think the way they do, what's wrong with them? Oh, well, because you learn some of our ideas, then you may not feel like it's so wrong. But so I'm just saying, so I like the approach of where you're learning something and it's desirable, but yet you're getting a larger benefit out of it.
For sure. Yeah,
So.
for sure. Yeah. And I think even if we don't explicitly like speak of anarchism, like a lot of the stuff that we do talk about, like it's anti-hierarchy, it's it's anti
right.
like it's anti-capitalist in the sense that like people had different forms of living in previous histories, and they were fine that way.
Exactly.
So yeah,
well, that's the thing is people get to learn, that's why I do like history. Like, I feel like, plus it's the facts, and then people can go research more on their own, and I think it just inspires this drive to learn and become a better person because of the learning, not just learn and then become Jordan Peterson and act like a total fucking dickhead.
Right.
It's not worthwhile. So anyways, going to our show, I want you to read the first part that I sent you, and then the show.
Right.
The biggest reason why, also, like I told you, people don't know that much about China or Asia, really, and especially in the West, in a sense, or whatever, or anywhere but Asia, probably. But so I felt, and there's not that many videos that really explain a lot of this stuff and really show how much is amazingly that we should be all know about China.
Yeah, it's like it's a major part of humanity.
It literally was the most populous country in the world, and yet we don't know shit all facts about it. What?
Right.
Come on,
we can do better than that, right?
I mean, we know about America. People even that are not in America know about America, but we really should care about not who's the most dangerous or powerful, or we should be learning about, who's the most popular, since they are the most of the humans or whatever, including understanding stuff about India, people that are not, from India but like I said, all this is positive anyways, because the more you learn, the less you feel disconnected, which is the real reality, not this fake bullshit that is made by this selfish individualism.
Yeah, the nationalism and this individualism that separates us. And for sure. So I guess we've got a map. It shows some movement from
right. So it's basically saying in Asia, it's basically China and whatever. So they're thinking that sometime around here is domestication.
Okay. Postulated
and
domestication
spread from there all over. So I'm just showing that. I think this is showing cannabis, by the way, marijuana, whatever.
Oh yeah.
Right. So marijuana, besides wheat. So wheat was actually done first, in a sense, or maybe, because wheat's history of domestication is about 12,000 years ago. It kind of starts, but it may actually start at 14, because genetic evidence shows that it's something closer to that, I think.
Okay.
But they were already, just think, there's a 16,000-year-old like pita bread that was found in Jordan. So obviously they were using grains before they even begin to be domesticated. So it's 16,000-year-old wheat. So they're using wild wheat and making, stuff, because they're really not that different. That's why I really hate when people, that's what we talked about cultures in the last one. I really hate when people put this fake thing that animals got culture. I mean, I don't know how to make it more simple. I try to break it down. Like, of course, the Soviets and the Neanderthals, they had their own culture, and so did humans. But the whole point to really get is how stupid this argument is, because so do animals. So, yeah.
That's right. So hemp was also one of the first plants to be spun into usable fiber 50,000 years ago. It may also be.
Pause for a second right there.
Oh, yeah.
So, and at some point, marijuana, cannabis, might actually have first been a food source.
Okay.
Because actually every single part of the cannabis plant is highly nutritious.
Right.
And so, and I think it's like 26% protein in the seeds or something. I mean, it's outrageous.
It's
The
pretty
plant.
good.
I mean, I'm just saying everything from. And I know it's crazy. It's like a steak or something.
Wow.
So my point. I'm just making a comment that I'm
For sure.
not bringing this point up just to be frivolous about China had marijuana or invented or
Right.
cultivated
Right.
marijuana first. No, I'm saying that it's amazing that this plant was probably first used as food, and then that why there is hemp at 12,000. There's like a split where the stuff that gets people high, like that I like to smoke, and then the other one for hemp and clothes and nets and all kinds of stuff. So
Right.
it's really amazing that from the beginning, like I said, that may have came from just eating it. To all of a sudden, it's not only that, and for I don't know how long, they may have continued eating it. You know what I'm saying?
There's
But
all these
I
other
know at a
uses
certain
as
point,
well. And
uses change, but that's what you're going to read. But I just wanted to make a comment that it's shocking to me that maybe the first thing wasn't to get high. Maybe the first thing was just food. And don't
right.
you think that's crazy?
Yeah, for sure. Getting
So
high was a thing that came later, eh?
oh yeah, way later. Yeah,
That's
but maybe
crazy.
12,000, but it could have came later too,
That's
and
cool.
not yeah.
So it may also be one of the earliest plants that to have been cultivated. The world leading producer of hemp is China, which produces more than 70% of the world output. Cannabis plants are believed to have evolved on the steppes of Central Asia, specifically in the regions that are now Mongolia and southern Siberia, according to Worf. Um, the history of cannabis use goes back as far as 12,000 years, which places the plant among humanity's oldest cultivated crops, according to information in the book Marijuana, the First 12,000 Years.
Right. So pause for a second there. Just like the barley was done next at 10,000, but guess
Okay.
what? And that's in the Fertile Crescent or somewhere in like Iraq or whatever, or somewhere, Israel, who knows? But anyways, my point is, so maybe Turkey, but so the earliest domestication of millet was in China, and that's 10,000 years old. Lentils, South Asia, 8 to 10,000 years old. And then
Right.
you have right, and then rice is 9,000 to 7,000 years old. So just to give you a perspective that this is older than
Yeah, than
most of the
every
stuff.
other.
Right?
Yeah. That's
Anyways,
crazy.
yeah, just saying how like interesting to me it is.
For sure. It likely flourished in the nutrient-rich dump sites of prehistoric hunters and gatherers, Worf wrote in his study. Cannabis in China has been confirmed to have originated in northwest China before the ancient Chinese domesticated the plant to India and other parts of Asia, particularly the Central Asian steppe in 10,000 BCE or around 12,000 years ago. Cannabis or marijuana was first domesticated around 12,000 years ago in China, researchers found after analyzing the genomes of plants from across the world. The study, published in the journal Science Advances on Friday, said the genomic history of cannabis domestication had been understudied compared to other crop species, largely due to legal restrictions. The researchers compiled 110 whole genomes covering the full spectrum of wild growing feral plants, land races, historical cultivars, and modern hybrids of plants used for hemp and drug purposes. The study said it identified the time and origin of domestication, post-domestication, divergence patterns, and present-day genetic diversity. Researchers showed that cannabis sativa was first domesticated in early Neolithic times in East Asia, and that all current hemp and drug cultivars diverged from an ancestral gene pool currently represented by feral plants and land races in China. Cannabis has been used for millennia for things like textiles, clothing, nets, etc., and for its medicinal and recreational properties, not to mention its likely ritual use. The evolution of the cannabis genome suggests the plant was cultivated for multi-purpose over several millennia.
But isn't that interesting? It was multi-purpose because once again, everybody I'm just getting out the
Yeah,
notion that everyone has that it was only to get high.
yeah,
Yeah,
for sure. That's, I
multiple
mean,
uses.
even people who are like, who have been pro marijuana legalization or what have you
Right.
often focus on the getting high thing, but like, yeah, it has been used for so much.
Right. So it's just an interesting fact to know, you
Yeah.
know, that our
What?
conceptions of it are kind of wrong.
Yeah, that's right. Especially when you consider like the like the villainization of it,
Oh yeah.
and like and versus the ancestral like use of it for so long. Like it's been around for so long.
It's been around as long as practically weed has been around. It's like, and you guys are like acting like it's a new thing. It's not new.
Right, eh? It's very very strange. Our
Oh, also
genomic
it takes up to make paper and stuff. It takes up less water and all kinds of
right.
stuff. Yeah,
Yeah. So it's actually like
it's
way better
better
in a lot of
a
ways.
lot. Well, then you could use it for food. Imagine that you could grow paper and every kind of. I think everyone should grow marijuana really because just think, if everything turns to shit, you always have food, and you can also make it into paper and all kinds of make it into concrete and then make it all kinds of
Yeah.
stuff. It's amazing.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Our genomic dating suggests that early domesticated ancestors of hemp and drug types diverged from basal cannabis around 12,000 years ago, indicating that the species had already been domesticated by early Neolithic times. It said, contrary to widely accepted view, which associates cannabis with a Central Asian center of crop domestication, our results are consistent with a single domestication origin of cannabis sativa in East Asia, in line with early archaeological evidence. It said that some of the wild plants currently found in China represent the closest descendants of the ancestral gene pool from which hemp and marijuana varieties have since derived. East Asia has been shown to be an important ancient hotspot of domestication for several crop species. Our results thus add another line of evidence, the study said. The researchers said their study offered an unprecedented base of genomic resources for ongoing molecular breeding and functional research, both in medicine and in agriculture. The study, they said, also provides new insights into the domestication and global spread of a plant with divergent structural and biochemical products at a time in which there is a resurgence of interest in its use, reflecting changing social attitudes and corresponding challenges to its legal status in many countries. For the most part, it was widely used for medicines and spiritual purposes during pre-modern times, said Worf, a professor of geography at the University of Kansas in Lawrence. The idea that this is an evil drug is a very recent construction, and the fact that it is illegal is a historical anomaly, Worf said. Marijuana has been legal in many regions of the world for most of its history. The use of hemp in Taiwan dates back at least 10,000 years. An archaeological site in the Okai Islands near Japan contained cannabis achines from about 8,000 BCE or 10,000 years ago, probably signifying use of the plant. The Pili Gang culture was a Neolithic culture in Yiluo River Basin in modern Henan province in China that existed from about 7,000 to 5,000 BCE or around 9,000 to 7,000 years ago. The Pili Gang culture used nets made from hemp fibers. The site at Jiahu, also with nets made of hemp fibers, is the earliest site associated with Pili Gang culture.
right, and that culture right there is real important, especially when we do our show on in religion and shamanism and stuff, because that culture has flutes. That culture is also maybe even helped spread the language.
Okay.
It did millet, did rice, did writing,
Huh.
or maybe not like a full writing system, but like symbols that probably related to a clan's understanding.
Okay. Huh.
Yeah,
So
so
they're pretty important
they're
then.
real important. You're gonna read some about it now, and I have art of it, but they're real important. And they by
Okay.
the way, they also were doing wine at 9,000 or something like that, and when not even done, there's tons of stuff. But they also had turtle shells or tortoise shells, whatever, in the graves and they had tortoise shells that had inside of them little tortoise bones that had symbols on them. And to me, that's like more than one thing. So it's not just like language. That doesn't even matter. Like I told you, I think it's more, they say it's more clan symbols, but it's also inside like a rattle. So it's religious in a sense. And turtles relate to even like Native Americans call the Americas, at least North America, Turtle Island.
Right.
So the reason I'm bringing all this up because it all really is connected. So I'm saying it's a very big deal. And so and I see that as evidence of shamanism going back to that, because later in the Shang Dynasty, right, when writing is officially invented, the writing is done on turtle shells and bull or cow scapulas. And what they do is they take a hot piece of metal, like a wire, and they like make the symbol or whatever on the bone, and then the heat cracks the bone, and then they try to use divination powers to read that what does it mean. Anyways, so anyways, I just wanted to let you know that all that is that culture that right there. So I'm just saying even that culture had hemp.
Okay, go upstairs. If you go upstairs, I will think about giving you a lollipop later. Okay?
So anyway, I was just to tell you about that culture, and I
sure.
just think it's a big deal that people need to understand, and it was doing hemp also. So
for sure. So hemp use archaeologically dates back to Neolithic age in China, with hemp fiber imprints found on Yangshao culture pottery dating from the 5th millennium BCE, or around 7,000 to 6,000 years ago.
Pause for a second. That culture is also a big deal. That one is probably where the current Chinese language comes from.
Okay, geez, wow.
So, and that language actually goes back about probably 9,000 years ago.
Okay.
1,000 years ago, something like that. Yeah.
Both hemp and psychoactive marijuana were widely used in China, in ancient China. Worf wrote, the first record of the drug's medicinal use dates to 4000 BCE, or around 6,000 years ago. Burned cannabis seeds have also been found in Kurgan burial mounds in Siberia, dating back to 3000 BCE, or around 5,000 years ago.
Right. Now, Kurgan mounds goes with there's a thing called the Kurgan hypothesis. And Kurgan is basically you build like a little house grave, whatever, and you bury it by a mound of dirt, in a sense.
Okay, I think we've touched on that in previous things.
Right. Well, I told you I think it has a loose relationship to mounds in the Americas, to me. Not because the people that were here went over there, but people that for similar ideas went both ways, away from each other, in other words.
Right. So they kind of had things that ended up similar.
Yes. So it's and it also, speaking of that, it may be transferred 1 or 2 times too. I don't know. So I don't. It goes back to like Graham Hancock saying one culture did everything. Oh,
right.
Totally no.
No.
So, and I'm not even saying that here. I'm just saying it was, even if it was started, it's shared ideas. So that's
fair. The medicinal properties of cannabis plant have been known for millennia, as far back as 2800 BCE, or around 4,800 years ago. Cannabis was used to treat a vast array of health problems and was listed in Emperor Shen Nung's Pharmacopoeia. Cannabis has a long and colorful history. The use of cannabis originated in Central Asia or Western China. Cannabis has been used for its alleged healing properties for millennia. The first documented case of its use dates back to 2800 BCE, when it was listed in Emperor Shen Nung's Pharmacopoeia. Emperor Shen Nung, regarded as the father of Chinese medicine. Therapeutic indications of cannabis are mentioned in the texts of the Indian Hindus, Assyrians, Greeks, and Romans. Hindu legend holds that Shiva, the supreme godhead of many sects, was given the title of the Lord of Bang because the cannabis plant was his favorite food.
See, now go back to food. Just like I was telling you, remember that when I think cannabis, I was kind of shocked when I first read like food.
You know, I think I remember, like you said, the seeds, right? I think
Mhm.
I've eaten like flavored seeds, cannabis seeds.
Cool.
Yeah, I think that was a thing that it came around one time, years and years and years ago.
Right on.
um, the ancient Hindus thought of the medicinal benefits of cannabis. Thought the medicinal benefits of cannabis were explained by pleasing the gods, such as Shiva. Ancient Hindu texts attribute the onset of fever with the hot breath of the gods, who were angered by the afflicted person's behavior. Using cannabis in religious rites appeased the gods and hence reduced the fever. The herb was used, for instance.
And one thing that's not in there is I think I told you before, the Hazai people of Southern Africa, they not only smoke pot. Remember, I told you they're kind of anarchists. They don't really have leaders, and women and men are pretty much equal. The only thing that's a little different is adults are, like especially elderly, are given a little more respect, but it's still not like a major, thing. And kids have rights. Fucking kids have rights, Well, that's what anarchist society sounds like to me.
Right, eh? Jeez.
But anyways, and I was going to say is they smoke pot too, like all the time. Like, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
It's been around since the beginning.
That's right. The herb was used, for instance, as an anesthetic during surgery, and stories say it was even used by the Chinese Emperor Shang Nung in 2737 BCE. However, whether Shen Nung was a real or mythical figure has been debated, as the first emperor of a unified China was born much later than the supposed Shen Nung. And some of the tombs of noble people buried in Xinjiang region of China and Siberia around 2500 BCE have included large quantities of mummified psychoactive marijuana. Historically, cannabis has been used in China for fiber, seeds, as a traditional medicine, as well as for some ritual purposes with Taoism. Ma is a Chinese word for cannabis, is represented by the Han character. The term ma, used to describe medical marijuana by 2700 BCE or around 4,700 years ago, is the oldest recorded name for the hemp plant. The word ma has been used to describe the cannabis plant since before the invention of writing 5,000 years ago. Ma might share a common root with the Proto-Semitic word myrrh, meaning bitter. Evidence of the earliest human cultivation of cannabis was found in Taiwan. Ancient Chinese prose and poems, including poetry in the Shi Jing, or Book of Odes, mention the word ma many times. An early song refers to young women weaving ma into clothing. The word ma is often paired with the Chinese word for big or great to form the compound word dama, or there's a character here.
Yeah, you don't have to read
which
that.
means dama.
Yeah.
Dama is sometimes used to describe industrial hemp, as there is a negative connotation, meaning numbness, associated with the word ma by itself. The current, highly specialized hemp and drug varieties are thought to come from selective cultures initiated about 4,000 years ago. Optimized for the production of fibers or cannabinoids, the selection led to unbranched, tall hemp plants with more fiber in the main stem and well-branched, short marijuana plants with more flowers, maximizing resin production.
Yeah, so let's pause right there. So 4,000 years ago, these people, obviously are not simple. They're literally doing, horticulture where they're growing the plants to be a certain way. I mean, I'm just going back to this whole thinking of when did people become civilized? I feel like that's almost an offensive question.
Right. Yeah, because so many people were civilized so long ago of different ways.
Exactly. Just because it's different doesn't make it not civilized.
Exactly.
What the hell?
Yeah. Archaeobotanical evidence of the use of medicinal cannabis in a secular context unearthed from South China. From the abstract. As one of the first plants used by ancient peoples, cannabis has been used for medicinal purposes for thousands of years. The long history of medicinal cannabis use contrasts with the paucity of archaeobotanical records. Moreover, physical evidence of medicinal cannabis use in secular context is much rarer than evidence of medicinal cannabis use in religious or ritual activities, which impedes our understanding of the history of medicinal cannabis use. Plant remains were collected from the Liao Guanshan Cemetery of the Han Dynasty in Chengdu, South China. The botanical remains were accurately identified as cannabis. More than 120,000 fruits were found, which represents the largest amount of cannabis fruit remains that have been statistically analyzed from any cemetery in the world thus far. That's crazy. 120,000. That's a lot. That's crazy.
Yeah, I think they liked it.
Yeah, no kidding. Yeah, that's definitely the impression I get, for sure. Charred cannabis.
So far, have you learned anything new about marijuana?
Oh yeah, I didn't know any of this history of it. So that's all very cool, for sure. Charred cannabis seeds that are more than 4,000 years old have been found in special braziers from graves at Gerbanetsi and the northern Caucasus region in Eastern Europe. These seeds may be the earliest evidence of the intentional burning of cannabis for psychoactive use and may thus represent the first physical evidence of medicinal cannabis use. The non-psychoactive cannabis seed remain after the psychoactive inflorescence and leaves have been burnt away. In addition, some remains from Central Asia, such as the nearly 13 whole cannabis plants from Jayayi Cemetery, female inflorescence of cannabis from Yanghai Cemetery in the Xinjiang Uyghur Autonomous Region, Northwest China, and cannabis fruits from the Pazyryk Cemetery in East Siberia are thought to indicate the use of cannabis for medical purposes. From China, coastal farmers brought pot to Korea around about 2000 BCE at around 4,000 years ago or earlier, according to the book The Archaeology of Korea. Cannabis came to the South Asian subcontinent between 2000 to 1000 BCE when the region was invaded by the Indo-Iranian speaking peoples, a group that spoke the archaic Indo-European language. The drug became widely used in India, where it was celebrated as one of the 5 kingdoms of herbs, which release us from anxiety. In one of the ancient Sanskrit Vedic poems, whose name translates into Science of Charms. From Asia to Europe, cannabis came to the Middle East between 2000 to 1400 BCE, or around 4000 to 30,400 years ago. And it was probably used there by the Scythians, a nomadic Indo-European group. The Scythians also likely carried the drug into southeast Russia and Ukraine, as they occupied both territories for years, according to Worf's report. Germanic tribes brought the drug into Germany, and marijuana went from there to Britain during the 5th century with the Anglo-Saxon invasions. Different religions have varying stances on the use of cannabis, historically and presently. In ancient history, some religions used cannabis as an entheogen, particularly in the Indian subcontinent, where the tradition continues on a more limited basis. In ancient Egypt, there is a written record of the medicinal use of hemp. Thus, the Ebers Papyrus, written 1500 BCE or around 3,500 years ago, mentions the use of oil from hemp seed to treat vaginal inflammation. Cannabis pollen was recovered from the tomb of Ramses II, who governed for 67 years during the 19th dynasty, and several mummies contained trace cannabinoids. The Assyrians, Egyptians, and Hebrews, among other Semitic cultures of the Middle East, mostly acquired cannabis from Aryan cultures and have burned it
By the way,
as
stop for a second. So I left it in there, but I usually don't use that word
right.
because what they are is Indo-Iranian,
Ah,
a branch of the Indo-European. So remember I talked about this that there's nowhere except in India that they supposedly called themselves that. But like I said, since it was one tribe and then split off to another tribe, and then from there it split off to two other tribes, and only the one that went to India says this, I don't buy it.
right.
That it's everybody. So I'm just going back to that these people like I'm Aryan, whatever, even now that's racist bullshit.
Yeah.
I'm trying to say I don't buy it.
Yeah.
If
For sure.
you have the ones in the steppe, you have the ones in the I think it's Bactria something culture that the steppe went to first. Then it stayed there. I don't know how long, so don't top of my head, but it went there first. So and then from there it splits into two things, and only one goes to Iran, does not use the Aryan, and the other one goes to India and does. So to say that they all were called that,
It's
I
not
think
right, eh?
it's wrong. It's pseudo history. I think unless there's more information, but I don't think so because
Okay.
it's and just because like I said, so just because even like I told you before, even if they call themselves that, that was to me a limited thing. It wasn't
Right.
yeah. So
It was just like you say, a small group of people that called themselves
otherwise, there
that.
would be evidence from the Russia, from what is that, Afghanistan or Uzbekistan or something. I can't remember now where the heck that other thing is. And then in Iran and in thing, if they all call themselves this, I'm just saying. I mean,
Right.
right?
Yep. Yep. Yeah, you would see evidence of it.
Right. So yeah, I'm just saying. So I usually just say Indo-Iranian is what I say. They're
Okay.
because that's the language that they would have spoke no matter
Right.
what. Not to mention though, all those names, even Indo-Iranian, those are shit that we've made up in a sense.
Yeah, for sure.
They didn't go around saying I speak Indo-Iranian or whatever. That's all I'm trying to say.
Can you imagine?
just trying to say. So, and when they say Scythians, these are in a sense probably related to Indo-Iranians also, I think, or
Okay.
connected with them, because it. So I'm saying, so when you hear these cultures, in a sense, that's what they're talking about, and they're called the Scythians. They don't call themselves Aryans either, right?
Right. Yeah, for sure. So they have burned it as incense as early as 1000 BCE or around 3000 years ago. Cannabis has been used by shamanic and pagan cultures to ponder deeply religious and philosophical subjects related to their tribe or society, to achieve a form of enlightenment, to unravel unknown facts and realms of the human mind and subconscious, and also as an aphrodisiac during rituals or orgies. There are several references in Greek mythology to a powerful drug that eliminated anguish and sorrow. Herodotus wrote about early ceremonial practices by the Scythians thought to have occurred from the 5th to 2nd century BCE, or 2,500 years ago to 2,200 years ago. In addition, according to Herodotus, the Dacians and Scythians had a tradition where a fire was made in an enclosed space and cannabis seeds were burned and the resulting smoke ingested. In ancient Germanic paganism, cannabis was possibly associated with the Norse love goddess Freya. Linguistics offers further evidence of prehistoric use of cannabis by Germanic peoples. The word hemp derives from Old English henep, from Proto-Germanic hanapes. While hanapes has an unknown origin, some scholars believe it is an unreconstructed loanword of Scythian origin. And the Greek word kavapik, which that cannabis derives from, is also thought to be a loanword of the same Scythian origin. While a loanword Hanabiz was borrowed early enough to be affected by Grimm's law, by which Proto-Indo-European initial K becomes H in Germanic, the shift of K to H indicates it was a loanword into the Germanic parent language at the time depth no later than the separation of Common Germanic from Proto-Indo-European, about 500 BCE, or around 2,500 years ago. So if I understand that right, around the time of this separation from
Right. So in other words,
Proto-Indo-European.
2000, you could just say 2,500 years ago, in a sense, the word goes from maybe Greek, maybe Scythian, or something, but it definitely Scythian in origin to the Germanic language.
Mm-hmm. Okay. People may have smoked marijuana in rituals 2,500 years ago in Western China. Cannabis may have been altering minds at an ancient high-altitude cemetery, researchers say. Mourners gathered at a cemetery in what's now Western China around 2,500 years ago to inhale fumes of burning cannabis plants that wafted from small wooden containers. High levels of the psychoactive compound THC in those ignited plants, also known as marijuana, would have induced altered states of consciousness. Evidence of this practice comes from the Jirzankal Cemetery in Central Asia's Pamir Mountains, says a team led by archaeologist Yemin Yang of the University of Chinese Academy of Sciences in Beijing. Chemical residues on wooden burners unearthed in tombs there provide some of the oldest evidence to date of smoking or inhaling cannabis fumes. The researchers report online June 12th in Science Advances. Rituals aimed at communicating with the dead or a spirit world likely included cannabis smoking, the team speculates. Cannabis remains of comparable age have been found in several other Central Asian tombs, including a site in Russia's Altai Mountains, located about 3,000 kilometers northwest of the Pamir Mountains. But the discoveries at Jirzankal Cemetery offered an unprecedented look at how cannabis was initially used as a mind-altering substance, the researchers say. East Asians grew cannabis starting at least 6,000 years ago, but only to consume the plant's oily seeds and make clothing and rope out of cannabis fibers. Early cultivated cannabis varieties in East Asia and elsewhere, like most wild forms of the plant, contained low levels of THC and other mind-altering compounds. Some of the earliest evidence for people smoking marijuana comes from the Greek historian Herodotus, who wrote of cannabis smoking roughly 2,500 years ago on the Central Asian steppes around about 2,000 kilometers west of the Pamir Mountains. But a determination of exactly when and where high THC cannabis plants first developed and which people first smoked cannabis has long eluded scientists. Archaeological finds indicate that many burial practices had spread across Central and East Asia by around 2,500 years ago, so cannabis smoking at graveside ceremonies was likely part of that process, says archaeologist Michael Fraschetti of Washington University in St. Louis, who did not participate in the new study.
And so just think of it right here, like I said to you, to me, in Western Siberia is where I think 35 to 30,000 years ago, shamanism forms, then goes into Russia, and then from there to the Czech Republic, and then from there it goes back to Russia near the Cossack Mountains, and then it goes from there to Lake Balka, or like the Altai Mountains they're talking about.
Okay.
So, but I was just going to make a comment that even if let's just say that there, it didn't stop and it kept evolving. It went one part like 22,000 years ago starts going back west again. And then by 17,000, it's going through the Middle East, through Turkey, and going all the way to Italy. Then another part is going into and relating to North China, because that's when pottery started coming up. So it's like all this, and it changed as soon as the people from the pottery go up to the Siberians. That culture is over. The culture ends at 15,000. It's about 14 to 13. I don't know exactly, but that pottery in a sense goes to that area. It could be even 15. So it's a big relation. When these people came, but the whole thing changed. That old culture, gone.
Interesting.
And then I told you, And then somewhere in there, I can't remember now if it's between them and the next ones. I think the people that were there. So in other words, shamanism would change because shamanism was a certain kind and doing a certain thing, and then these new people come, and they have new ideas in a sense. They have pottery, and they're already doing a different kind of, I think, of animism. And so they go, so then a different stuff gets all mixed again. So then from that, in other words, to me, after 15,000 till I would say about 10,000 is another kind of shamanism. So even though the stuff that it got there at 24 or something to 15 was one kind, then from 15 to 10 is I think another kind. Or they're doing it a little bit different.
Okay.
See what I'm saying?
Okay.
Because 10,000 years ago, people come from North China again in DNA, and they take over.
Okay.
So once again, they're then going to replace it with their ideas, which I do think were influenced from Siberia by way of all this other stuff, Europe, and so you get what I'm saying. So it's not like a simple thing. And then what I'm trying to say is then Turkic and Mogolic spreads all over because there used to be different people. Now they spread all over, right?
Okay.
Across Lake Balka and everything, and they take over that area too. Becomes to me then a more Chinese, in a sense, influenced type of shamanism. But then I think that later too, when the Shang Dynasty, in the Bronze Age, makes, in a sense, I think, Wu religion part of the culture. I think that also then changed stuff, because just think if everyone's doing like anarchism, we're all doing our own thing, but we're all kind of similar goals. But all of a sudden, when you bring a state in and you bring this authority that we're all supposed to have a doctrine. See, you and me don't have a doctrine, but we do kind of follow the same general stuff. Even without a doctrine, because we don't have a doctrine. But I'm just saying. I'm just saying that would have changed, and that's why I told you before. There's a thing where people would call it a shaman if they worked for the people, like an anarchist type of more thing, and then a sorcerer for the state.
Oh, okay.
And I don't know that that's applicable, of course, to everything. I'm just saying. I heard that and I thought I like that description, even though I think it's in Mesoamerica or something, but I was like, yeah, I think that's a good way to make a distinction in a sense.
Right.
Now, like some people could say, well, then is it no longer shamanism? Yes, sorcery is shamanism, but it's like it's like I said, it's like hierarchy. It's a different thing. It's but its origins, in a sense, to me, come from shamanism, just like magic, shamanism, healing, shamanism. You know what I'm saying?
Right,
So
like it fits under the broad umbrella of
correct.
shamanism.
But even like I was saying to you, I do not think there's this one thing or whatever, or it never changed. Oh my God, I'm trying to explain this. It changed multiple times.
Right. Yeah.
And also, I'm not even saying that the culture that was from 24 to 15 didn't change during its culture.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. But it holds on to certain characteristics that still make it shamanism.
Right. Yeah. Exactly. And that's all. So there's some basic things. That's all you can do. And it's not because we're trying to. It's like saying there's basic things in all religion that their gods seem the same. Because there's some cultures that'll say, I don't have gods. And then they explain it to you. You go, that's a god.
Right. That sounds a lot like, yeah. Yeah. So, for sure. So we have one sentence left on this, and it says, at that time, the early Silk Road connected populations from Beijing to Venice, according to the same Freschetti.
Right. And in about 2,000 years before that, because the Silk Road's about 2,500, 3,000 years old. So there's a thing called the pre-Silk Road, which actually went north across the steppe, like Siberia. And that one's about 4,500 to 5,000 years old. So it went all the way in since almost to Europe, and because like the culture at I think 3,000 something is maybe it's 4,000. Why it went all the way across? It was a culture of weaponry and stuff and military, and it went from Finland all the way to Korea.
Okay.
Similar spear points, similar stuff. It doesn't mean that I'm saying that is one. Once again, it's not Graham Hancock. I'm
Right.
not saying that one culture was just going all the way across every, but all these cultures are relating to each other. That is what I'm saying. They have
Okay.
relations. So, which also goes back to, what do you think happens when you have relations? You don't just share one thing. It's not like you just share these spear points. They also had a lot of bronze male deities. I think it's Tan to me, the sun god, or the sky god,
Oh, okay.
or they could be called the day god in a sense, because they also believe in the dawn is a different goddess, and
Oh, okay.
night can be a god or a goddess. The dusk. So they see the sun as having three things, and that figurine, bronze figurine, has there's one of him at least where there's three different things on his hat or head, whatever, and like halos or not halos. It's like shooting out light or whatever, light rays. So
Okay.
in a sense, but it's just made of metal. But I'm saying is, so it's like, but it reminds me that why I think it could be Tan, because they see things just like in Chinese they have called the three-legged crow. That's the sun.
Okay.
But I know to us it doesn't make sense because it's the same damn sun. But I'm just letting you know that that's why some of the religions will say certain things, and we don't see the rising sun as different than the setting sun or the noonday sun, but they saw those as separate deities.
Yeah, I mean, I guess.
Well, I should say some. It's not everybody, because later it's like Ra, in a sense, it was pulled across, the sky or whatever, and
Right.
or something. It doesn't mean that it changes, but I'm saying the origin to me of all monotheism, I think, might relate to Tan, so that's why I've said before, I'm not sure if, even though Egyptians, like with Ra, the sun, and then even the Iranians did kind of like a possible thing of monotheism as well, with the sky deity. And then to me, the Siberia might be the origin, because I said 4,000 years ago they're spreading all this stuff, and this culture that's all over the place seems to be worshiping, it looks like to me, like maybe a little Tan deity. And Tan later becomes the deity of China, and the Shang dynasty has Shang Di, and that is just Tan with a different name. And so, and anyways, but then there's Tanjiri, which is what the Mongolians and the Turks, in a sense, believe. Their type of shamanism was called Tanjiri, which was basically almost like a paganistic shamanism or something.
Okay.
They had, in almost in some ways, it could be almost conceived as monotheism or something, or henotheism, where there's a main deity and yet other ones are still acknowledged or something, but not worshipped in a sense. But but because I'm just saying, so the name Tan relates to Tanjiri, which is the same exact deity, because like the Mongolians say, we worship the great sky. What they mean is the day, because they're not talking about the sky at night.
Right. That's a different thing.
It's a goddess, I think. But I'm saying, so it's more complicated. But that's why I was saying, same thing. And yet that's shamanism, and people don't usually think of shamanism as like monotheism or something, but
it's still,
But so if you look at the thing of hunter-gatherer religiosity, that study they did, it's only like 35% even believe in any high deities, which like a sky deity is definitely a high deity.
Right.
And yet shamanism was almost 80%. Right.
Okay.
So you can see it didn't, but that's why I was trying to say it changed again. Tantrism,
right,
once it was known, is an evolved. It's like heavy influence, more paganism, and that's kind of the same way with the Samis shamanism in Sweden and Finland and Denmark up there in Russia. The Sami up there, theirs is definitely shamanism, but is Also, definitely paganism.
Okay.
It's even got like Thor kind of stuff. They call it Horgalis. But anyways, don't let's go back to the China stuff. I'm just saying that,
Sure.
yeah.
So there's another article piece here. It's past the brazier. Early evidence of cannabis smoking found on Chinese artifacts. It's from June 15th, 2019 by Pian Huang. And there's a picture. Scientists exhumed 10 wooden braziers from 8 tombs at the ancient Jirzhankal cemetery in what is now Western China. Many of the braziers held stones that were apparently heated and used to burn cannabis plants. People have been smoking pot to get high for at least 2,500 years. Chinese archaeologists found signs of that when they studied the char on a set of wooden bowls from an ancient cemetery in Western China. The findings are some of the earliest evidence of cannabis used as a drug. Historical Chinese medical texts, circa 200 CE, through contemporary 20th century Chinese medical literature, discuss individual terms for ma, including ma fen, ma hua, and ma bo, referring to the specific parts of the male and female flowers of a cannabis plant with differing cannabinoid ratios. Beginning around the 4th century, Taoist texts mentioned using cannabis in censers. Needham cited the Taoist Encyclopedia, circa 570 CE. Wu Shang Biao, or the Supreme Secret Essentials, that cannabis was added into ritual incense burners and suggested the ancient Taoists experimented systematically with hallucinogenic smokes. Joseph Needham connected myths about Magu, the hemp damsel, with early Taoist religious usages of cannabis, pointing out that Magu was a goddess of Shandong's sacred Mount Tai, where cannabis was supposed to be gathered on the 7th day of the 7th month, a day of seance banquets in the Taoist communities.
Just think of that, how the seven's important, because Christianity thinks it owns that concept like only to itself.
Right. Yeah,
Well,
they
the
came
number
up
of
with
God
that.
is 7, and the number of the devil is 6.
Yeah.
Yeah, numerology, the magical belief in numbers.
Yeah, that's right.
Christians say, "Oh, you believe in magic?" Yes, you do. If you believe in numerology, you absolutely do.
For sure.
We'll see. Now you go to
the video. Okay.
Yep.
So for early China, we're going to have a very quick image about the prehistorical society of Neolithic. So what are the important key developments? Well, 40,000 years ago, up to 10,000 years ago, these are Upper Paleolithic, and you have the emergence of modern humans and the kind of cognition, development of modern cognition that gave rise to art. So that is more universal. And then around 10,000 years ago, you have more sanitary life, where you, in southern China,
pause for a second.
Culture, and in,
because he said something I don't exactly agree with. I think modern humans are like 50,000. He said 40. I would say culturally, because maybe he's referencing that. 40,000 years ago, and we can look at the genetics and see that people were having less sex with their family. So someone was making some ethical culture, right? You get what someone's getting people to not do it. It's not like a guy wakes up one day and decides just to be ethical. I mean, that would be nice if that happened. Like a whole bunch of people. Like, in fact, every capitalist in the world, that would be like.
Yeah, we're still having trouble with people not waking up and being ethical the next day.
So. Yeah. But like I told you, other than I have a lot of sympathy for people that are capitalists. They either don't know sometimes, and even when they do, they feel trapped. You mean, you feel hopeless. You're like, what choice do I have? I mean, anyways. Yeah. I wish you had
just reading a book today, and the author talks about how in a society where people are not free, the oppressors are also not free.
Yeah.
Because they're locked in to a system of oppressing and roles that may dehumanize them. But
right. That's a good point. Yeah, so that's all I was trying to say is that for people, my opinion, since he said 40,000, my opinion is probably 50,000. And there's art. Certainly, if you're going to say art is the thing, well, then we got to go to 65,000 because the Neanderthals made art. So once again, let's play the what's a culture game.
right. What counts?
But anyways, I'm just giving you my opinion. So he said his about 40,000. And if he means like culturally that someone was adding morality, yeah, it does look like morality must have been added to some varying amount 40,000 years ago. And so if you're saying that's the emergence of what you call culture, okay, that we were being more ethical. And I do like that. So yeah, I would agree that's the beginning of culture. If you're saying that when ethics started to change human behaviors in a positive way, yeah.
Okay.
Northern China, millet agriculture emerging. So these different agricultural production have different implications on scheduling, social organization. So that is the foundation of agrarian society in China. And the most developed form of this Neolithic lifeway is a so-called Yangshao culture. This is the image of UCLA Field School. So the Yangshao culture similar to the Pueblo society in American Southwest. So it's more egalitarian, more communal ethos, and their art is mainly painted pottery. And their social life seem to revolve around amphoras. So it's kind of a communal consumption of a millet ale. Okay, so you in this society you see very little signs of social distinctions. So that's the primary social form in the central plains of China. On the coast, things look very different. Okay,
and that's
that's it.
That's it for
because that's obviously we're covering it more extensively than he does. His is only the Neolithic down, and I care about how we got here, and think that there's plenty of absolutely amazing stuff before you get to the what people think is the origin of China. Like we're talking about 9,000 years ago, they're doing stuff that later you're still doing, and then feng shui I think it's like 7,000 years old. I mean, it's not new.
So we've got kind of a list here,
right? And so the whole point is I'm trying to show you these are all the cultures that are before 7,000. Every one of these. It's not like one culture; it's a whole bunch. And like I said, that third one, that Penang culture, it has that I don't know how to pronounce it, Jiangsu, whatever, that 9,000-year-old place that has all that alcohol and has millet, has rice, has hemp. I mean, they're doing all kind of stuff, and they have the turtle shells in the graves. And the first turtle shell grave to me comes from the Middle East or Jordan or somewhere over there, pre-Nufian, 17 to 15,000 years ago, a piece of turtle shell. Then the 12,000 years ago Nufian grave of a shaman, they believe. Some people believe. I believe also, but had 73 turtle shells in the grave, along with a human foot and I think 2 ferrets or something, and
interesting
weasels or something. And then a wing from I think a crow, and anyways some other stuff. But anyways, and then even 9,000 years ago in Germany, there's the shaman with horns on the head or whatever, probably. And, as a mask, I'm not talking about actually having horns on the head.
Right.
I just want to clarify that.
Not literally.
Not literally, but yeah, figurative. Well, there's a literal outfit to put things all over herself. Anyways,
Right.
that shaman's burial or whatever also had turtle shells. And then there's turtle shells over in Asia. I think
Okay.
that is absolutely spreading. I think it started in the Middle East 17,000 years ago. Maybe it started in the steppe and it went down to the Middle East or something. Because I know that those people migrated. So maybe that was the thing in Asia already. I don't know exactly, but I do know that there was no evidence. But that doesn't mean it wasn't going on. I'm just saying.
Right.
But anyways, I'm saying the Middle East for sure, and that's a big deal. And then you see it all the way in this other culture, which told you is the third one on that
Right.
on the thing.
The
So
Pili Gang culture.
right. So that's the first time you see that I know of. You see the turtles in China.
Okay.
And then they're immediately ceremonial, just like I'm saying, like all the other shamans were buried with turtles, and then you're buried with turtles too. Oh, okay. So to me, I'm just saying, if you ask me, where's the earliest evidence that I can see that's probably shamanism, I would say is that. I think it was there earlier than that, but
Okay.
I think it might be there 13,000 or whatever. I think whenever N went up to Siberia and met the shamans, I think that from then on, I think that there was shamanism.
Okay.
Yeah, so you get my point. I think that there's been interrelating ever since then. So
For sure.
Like I said, that culture obviously, is at 9,000, so it's a little bit less. But I still think so. And so some people, could think that shamanism is a lot younger and connected to, later stuff and was spread by, Bronze Age or by the Shinto Tibetan language of the Turks and the Mongols. But I think that it's been a long time.
Okay. Do you want me to go through this list a little bit, or?
Yeah, you could just read the thing and then just read the last, like where it's at. You know what I'm saying? Like you don't need to say Yellow River region. Just say the last one, Hebrew, whatever it is, then Hunan, and you know what I'm saying?
The table's kind of off center here
Oh, okay.
So I'm trying to see if I can get it where I can see everything. Wonder if I can.
Yeah, I know. When I post it in there, it's not.
Come on, move
pictures.
for me. There we go. Got it. Okay.
And I'm also gonna take in a sense a screenshot of this and then put it on my the video.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So while you're talking, is what I mean is people will be able to read along with you or whatever.
Okay. Can I get this one smaller? No, maybe not. Oh well. So 8,500 to 7,700, the Nan Zhuang Tu culture.
Oh, by the way, those are all BCE. I don't know why.
Right. Yeah, I suppose.
I mean, they really should have said that. I mean,
yeah. Yeah, it makes sense, but yeah, it should be there too.
Yeah, it really should.
So,
or I guess I should have done it so then Corey doesn't have to like mind read. Corey's like, right. I'm learning all kinds of things with Damien. Also mind reading.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah. Yeah, so the 8,500 to 7,700 BCE, the Nanzang Chuo culture in the Yellow River region in southern Hebei. So 7,500 to 6,100, the Peng Tushan culture in central Yangtze region in northwestern Hunan. 7,000 to 5,000 BCE, the Pili Gang culture. That's the one we've been talking about.
Yeah.
Yi Luo River Basin Valley in Henan. 6,500 to 5,500, the Huli culture in Shandong. 6,200 to 5,400, the Xing Longhua culture in Inner Mongolia or Liaoning border. 6,000 to 5,000, the Kua Kyo culture in Xizang, 6,000 to 5,500. The Sishan culture in southern Hebei, 5,800 to 5,400 BCE. The Dadiwan culture in Gansu and western Jiangxi, 5,500 to 4,800. The Xinli culture, lower Liao River and on the Liaodong Peninsula, in 5,400 to 4,500 BCE. The Zhao Bao Go culture, Luan River and Valley in Inner Mongolia and northern Hebei, 5,300 to 4,100 BCE. The Bixin culture in Shandong. And then we have a piece of artwork here.
Right. It's artwork of mine, and it shows all the different locations and timings and kind of what they looked like of birds. I'm trying to show, I think all of this in a sense is kind of connected.
Okay.
See the one that says 23 to 19,000, that little like, it's a penis shaped bird figure. That to me, those Lake Balka, that right there to me is shamanism, right? I think though it did come from Europe, so this idea might have, in the sense of these birds' importance. And as you see, but at least, even if it was different in that other culture, the one here to me is interesting because not only are they bird, like the penis things, they were
Right.
buried with believed males.
Okay.
Right? And then there was female figurines buried with the women.
Interesting.
So there is something going on. And I don't know, but I think it's interesting that there's an Indo-European, I think Greek myth that is about the swan having sex with the woman. And I'm just wondering if that doesn't go back to why these bird heads are like penises and are buried with males. Anyways, interesting. But I try to show so you can see that. So it's about 13,000, they say, somewhere around there, when the people from where it says 13-year-old bird, and that's in China.
Okay.
Those people met the people in Lake Balka at least 13,000 years ago. So maybe even older, but so to me, the fact that these two areas could share this similar thing, I know they go, oh, it's three-dimensional. Yeah, that first and second figures you see there about time, like the one in Europe, so 43,000 or 33,000.
Right.
Right, that bird totem. I think that's related to totemism. But anyways, but also, so all these kind of are in a sense, but they're mixed with other religion. But anyway, so this bird though is three-dimensional. This other bird that's in Lake Balka, the 23 to 19, three-dimensional. So then the one in 13,000 in China is three-dimensional, and they're like, oh, it's a new form because it's three-dimensional. I'm like, literally, that's been the form.
Right. That's not the new thing. It is a different style, but it is not. The three-dimensional isn't the new thing.
And I just thought that he just doesn't know about the other stuff, and that these cultures the people from Europe did eventually send ideas to Siberia. People from Siberia were met from the people from China, and obviously then transferred ideas. Yeah. I don't even. To me, it just seems like logical. But I'm trying to show what these things are. Then I think later the idea from the Middle East. So you see the Middle East is 23 to 16.5.
Yep.
This is a
three-legged crow.
Right? But I already told you China, like about 2,500 or something, has a thing called three-legged crow. Doesn't mean it wasn't older. I'm just saying it documented. And so I'm questioning, was the first bird ever in the Middle East a three-legged crow? Because this is very important. That's the same area where 23,000 years ago they did the first wheat proto-domestication.
Interesting.
Exact same area. So guess what that makes them care about? The sun. because agriculturalists care about the sun. The cultures that move care about the moon. How many moons ago, right?
Right.
So it's a different culture. So all of a sudden you have this new bird. Well, I think it's already a bird idea. You understand? But now it's seen or placed in a different position, I think, maybe, because agriculture goes, oh, because I think I told you before, I think agriculture is when shamanism becomes paganism, in a sense. Doesn't lose all the shamanism, but it does change. But anyways, and it changes, I think, because of agriculture. Because there's this new demand. My thing says recording error. It says open to tab to learn more. Like, dang. No, now it's back.
Yeah, on my end it still says you're uploading.
Okay.
So, hopefully it didn't.
I know that not every word I say is phenomenal, but
we're hoping not to miss anything.
Yeah, because I'm trying to. Well, because I'm trying to really help explain so people can understand, and you can understand what happened and what was going on and how all this is related. Because it's a lot of stuff and it could be confusing.
For sure.
But I'm just saying, when you look at this, so that's at that point, the beginning of agriculture. But then when you actually, all these other ones in Turkey and the Middle East and here in Israel, whatever, all these other little dots are the little bird figurines. Okay. And I'm trying to show that I think there's a consistent culture, because the times, which I listed below, those 1, 2, 3, it tells you the times of those things. And if you notice, they start before 12,000 years ago, and then they continue, in a sense, till 8,000 years ago. And then the idea spread to Europe and become something different. But anyways, but I'm trying to show, though, here is, look at how evolved. Like number 2, right, is Kortetepe, at 12,000 years ago. Well, that already has a figure with something on his head. I think this could be a shaman. And those things next to him that look like symbols or F's or something, those are birds, in a sense, figurines, I think. And I made his hat green because I think it might relate to the idea of a snake or something. Just like later you have the pharaohs do stuff, that kind of stuff. The snake on the head. But anyways, then it shows number 6, you see 2 figures with a vulture on top. And these figurines would have been dead, because that's how they bury people, in tight, like crunched up positions.
Okay.
And then if you see number 5, it looks like a bird with lightning under it. Right. So I have a feeling that might relate, just like number 3 looks like a thunderbird.
Right.
You see what I'm saying? I think that number 5 might be like a depiction of a thunderbird, in a sense. And number 7 certainly also looks like with like a Native American mythology of a thunderbird, in a sense.
Right.
So I'm just trying to show, and then later, go over to the Native American side, the Americas, and it says Thunderbird mythology seen in some North American indigenous peoples' beliefs.
Right.
Especially the Northwest cultures. These figurines, just like I wanted to show, they also not just have the regular, they have 2-headed or 2 birds, right? And remember, back in the Middle East at number 2, there was 2 birds and the person. So I'm just saying that these ideas of 2 birds might be old, because if you look too at the ones in China, those 2 things that look weird, right? Those are supposed to be the sun in the middle, and then those are like the in a sense a bird, but also like people with knives, right? You see them?
Oh yeah, okay.
And it also might be representing the 3 natures of the sun. Remember I told you there's 3 different ones?
Yep.
So like the 2 birds here, it might be like they're holding on to something. You see what I'm saying about the symbology? Isn't that like in the one above it is also the same thing? It's like 2 birds around a central thing.
Right.
But anyways, you can keep going. I just wanted to go over that, because I know that it's good. Confusing when you look at it. It's a lot of stuff, but I'm trying to explain their relations.
For sure. Oh, and then we got another picture. This says, try and get this where I can see it. There we go. Jiahu, 9020
Remember
to
that
7720.
Pan culture we were talking about, or whatever it was?
Oh, yeah. Yep.
Right.
So this shows relics, China evidence of silk, unique burials, wine, etc., with around 9,000 years ago fermented beverages and shamanism ritual tortoise shells holding sacred symbols.
Right, and then
Jiahu.
Right. Do you see those symbols that it looks like an eye, and then
Yep.
like light or something coming down, and then another symbol that could be like a person or something, or I don't know, or another thing could be like a storage or I don't know, but there's these different symbols. Anyways, and I told you that doesn't mean they were a full language or anything, but
Right.
and I actually care about them less as language and more as religion. I think these are symbols to do divination.
Okay.
They're doing magic in a sense, fortune telling, which is what shamans do. Because even the Sami shamans, the Noidi, they have legends that the Vikings used to pay them to, in a sense, control the winds or to tell them they're going to have good fortune or not, or whatever. So they're using, and I think that also, like the even later in the Greeks, when you have like oracles or whatever, I think it's similar stuff.
Okay. Cool.
And they also had dog burials, and you see they made bones from the wing of the bird, the flute, and
right.
Graves. And they found silk in the graves. And look at their weapons. These people, and their pots. Right. And they're, for 9,000 years ago, they're a culture. They're
go figure, eh?
Civilized. That's it. Yeah, that's what it is.
Yeah, they're civilized.
Civilized. Yeah.
Yeah, so we've got, it says burial customs. Jiahu burial customs included a variety of styles and body positions. Some graves had several heads or from a skull cult, possibly.
Right. And that skull cult is something in the Middle East, but also it's kind of seen in some parts of Europe and maybe in China.
Okay.
Or somewhere.
And pointing northwest after being cut at death or shortly after, a single burial was common, and some multiple burials, some primary and some secondary interments. Mainly grave goods involved pottery, bone tools, flutes, turtle shells, as well as sacrificed dogs, with an overall impression that there was a certain degree of social division that grew clearer moving towards the late rather than the early phase.
Okay, so sacrificing dogs, this is real important, because if you notice, this is older, right, than the sacrificing dogs in Siberia. 7,000 years ago, they started burying dogs with humans, and I think it's related to the Asian cultures, doing this behavior. Not that they weren't in a sense already doing it, but I think that because putting them in their burials, I mean, even in Israel, there's burials with dogs. I'm not saying it's new. And at the first shaman burial in Czechoslovakia, there was a female at 28 to 25. I don't know exactly, but her grave, she had a fox head. Or parts of a fox or something. And so I do think that there's these different things, because if you look at like sacred animals, you start to see that some of these things, like the earliest drums in China, I think they're 8,000 years old, or 7,000.
Okay.
But they have alligator. And I think that actually might relate to the dragon beliefs.
Oh, okay. Oh, excuse me. Okay, and we got another picture. This one's easy. There's not much, nothing much to read.
Right.
We're looking at pictures lots.
Well, this is just to show you some of the symbols instead of just
for sure
saying there was some, just showing you that what these are.
It says 2,000 pictographs found in Jiahu near the Yellow River in Henan province in central China, dating back 7,000 to 8,000 years ago. And these symbols on the right, these are the ones that we looked at the other picture, right?
Correct. That I put in my art, because these are they're considered the most close to some kind of language or something.
Okay.
Now all these may not be, but I mean they may relate to something probably from clans.
Could be.
Like a group. Probably knew what it was.
Jiahu was the site of a Neolithic settlement based in the central plain of ancient China near the Yellow River, settled around 7,000 BCE. The site was later flooded and abandoned around 5,700 BCE. Jiahu symbols, possibly an early proto-writing. The Jiahu symbols consist of 16 distinct markings on prehistoric artifacts found in Jiahu.
Right, and this is showing the Devil's Gate culture, which has to do with people that were buried in a cave. And then when they check their DNA, they match in this way, showing that the group that they were in a sense related to, which you can see is close to North China, right? Relates to everybody. So they went all over the place, which to me would tell you this probably, has a relation to not the first migration, but later migration, like the one between 8,000 to 5,000, probably, you know what I'm saying?
Okay.
And so you can see they spread all over a lot, right?
Yeah, for sure. That's pretty cool.
So, and then it shows all the, in a sense, regions and the below it, right? You see all the regions, and these are all the groups. So you can see where the groups came from.
Okay.
And do you see there's a Canadian group, also I could say American in the sense of Alaska, the Tlingit. Right. You see where the
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
So it's showing you in Aleuts, right? That's another one from Alaska.
Yep.
So it's just showing. There's Eskimo. See where Eskimo
right.
is?
Yeah.
Right. So see Eidelman, which is another one from I think either Canada or America. I can't remember now which one. But they're in the north. Do you see that? But so all these ones you just notice they're all in the same color. Yeah. Chucky, Ugric, right?
Right. All the
same. Borak.
So they're all kind of at the same origin. Is that the idea?
See where it says the Chuckian. Yes, that means they all speak the same language.
Ah, okay.
Or I should say related language, not same language. That's
right.
So, but
related.
This show's trying to give people the big picture. I could sit here and give you more detail about every single thing, but I'm trying to get the big picture. So I'm just trying to show you that when people think like the Americas, shouldn't share language or religion or anything, that's nonsense to the Asia, especially if you mean which part are you talking about,
right?
and the Koraks and I can't remember the other name. Starts with an N, but anyways, their culture, they know for a fact the religion and the great bird and and totem poles and all that comes from there. Related, stuff. So, and they have shamanism and stuff. So that's, but it's a different kind, just like it's a different language, right? Shamanism is not a monolith. It's a monolith of grouped ideas that a cultural, in a sense, evaluator, because that's what I would say in a sense been doing, evaluating these cultures, and we're putting them into a cultural grouping. Doesn't mean they would use it. Doesn't mean they're all the same, or that there's only one kind of shamanism.
Right.
No, I don't believe that at all. And so just I'm saying that some people, but if you notice, so this helps you see which groups are connected to each other. But all these groups, in a sense, are all related to each other, also from this Devil Gates culture, which we already looked at the other map, right? Yeah. This goes back to, like I try to say, this bullshit of borders, this bullshit of my ethnic and look at people. We're related first from Africa, second from Siberia, then from the Devil's Gate cave, then from the Indo-Europeans. It's like ridiculous, man. This whole hatred is stupid.
Yeah.
Speaking
No
of hatred,
kidding.
remember when that one racist dude started saying shit about Africans that the Europeans didn't come from Africa or some
Right.
nonsense?
Yeah. He said he didn't think they were humans.
Subhuman. Yeah,
Like, what?
we're on. Neanderthals weren't subhumans, dumb fuck.
No, that's right. Very I guess it's a very ignorant way of viewing things, like to say that they weren't humans.
Yeah.
Obviously. Yeah.
But I think that we by this show just dealing with that subject, which is also one of the reasons why I wanted to deal with it.
Yeah, for sure, right?
It came in handy like almost like 2 days after we posted it. I'm like, hang on, man.
Yeah, that's right.
I know it's
no,
important.
dude, they're humans. What are you talking about?
Yeah. What?
Yeah.
Shut up. But I'm just trying to say, like you pointed out, we're connected not even just from one event, multiple events. We're connected.
Right.
This, I am this, and those people are that. Oh, dude, this is just stupid.
No, that's right.
Right on, but I'm having fun already because already the goal that I had that it would change people's minds has worked. He even commented on that video and said, "Well, can't they all be different?" And I'm like, "No, it doesn't matter if we have all of them or none of them. We are all still connected. Like, what part of that are you not getting?"
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah. No,
Well,
I mean,
go ahead.
I was just gonna say, at least he went and actually watched the video. That's pretty good. That's something.
Right. And well, because in the video is not threatening it in a sense. I don't think it. That's why I was just saying that I even though I think that, some people are not appreciating, my type of anarchism, I think I get to a lot of people that other people don't.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and it's not, I don't know. It's not like we're apologetic for our political persuasion, right? Like we're not pretending we're not anarchists. So
yeah, well, definitely not pretending we're not. That's absolutely true. Yeah, I don't mind if I say it every single video. And
yeah,
like if you thought that you just came to a history show, I'm sorry to inform you, you've come to an anarchist show where we do mention history.
Yeah, that's right. Or yeah, we're
humanist.
We're
well, because
that's right.
An anarchist is a humanist. I mean, to me, so
yeah.
Thinking everyone should be equal and treated with dignity and respect. Yeah,
go figure, eh? Sounds like a good anarchist and a good humanist.
Yeah, well, yeah, I agree.
So where was I? We just looked at this picture, this map.
Right.
So now we've got an abstract or a
science
article.
Right, explaining that picture sort of.
Okay, so ancient women found in a Russian cave turn out to be closely related to the modern population, from sciencealert.com. Abstract: ancient genomes have revolutionized our understanding of Holocene prehistory and particularly the Neolithic transition in Western Eurasia. In contrast, East Asia has so far received little attention, despite representing a core region at which the Neolithic transition took place independently.
But just pause for a second. Isn't that crazy? So even science is admitting they don't pay attention to China and stuff. Just like culturally, we don't pay attention either. I'm just saying how we don't know anything. Here it's such an important place and we don't know anything about it. It's ridiculous. But I'm trying to remedy that.
Yeah. So I don't know if this squiggle means equal to or less than 3 millennia after its onset in the Near East.
It generally means less than, I think, but
okay.
Or it's like saying around or close to or sometime in.
Okay.
You know how they don't like to actually write things.
No, why write words?
Well, just like they put 1,000 instead of just putting. Did you see there dated 7.7? and they wrote 1,000. Why not just put zeros? What, I mean, do you see how it doesn't even make sense?
Yeah.
Like at one part, they're
7.7 thousand years ago. Yeah, just very silly.
Anyways,
Yeah. Okay. So representing a core region at which the Neolithic transition took place independently around 3 millennia after its onset in the Near East. We report genome-wide data from 2 hunter-gatherers from Devil's Gate, an early Neolithic cave site dated 7,700 years ago, located in East Asia on the border between Russia and Korea. Both of these individuals are genetically most similar to geographically close modern populations from the Amur Basin, all speaking Tungusic languages, and in particular to the Ulki.
And the Tungusic languages are part of the same languages that became the Mongols and the Turks.
Okay.
Yep.
Cool. The similarity to nearby modern populations and the low levels of additional genetic material in the Ulki imply a high level of genetic continuity in this region during the Holocene, a pattern that markedly contrasts with that of reported for Europe. 6 of 7 individuals whose remains have been recovered from the cave have been DNA tested. Originally, 3 of the specimens were thought to be adult males, 2 were thought to be adult females, 1 was thought to be a sub-adult of around 12 to 13 years of age, and 1 was thought to be a juvenile of around 6 to 7 years of age, based on the skeletal morphology of the remains. Results of genetic analysis of the sub-adult individual have not yet been published. However, 2 specimens, NEO236, Skull B, Devil's Gate 2, and NEO235, Skull G, who had been presumed to be adult males according to forensic morphological assessment of their remains, were discovered through genetic analysis to actually be females. The juvenile specimen also has been
Also, saying about that. So sometimes, as you know, archaeologists will look at graves and everything about it looks like, one gender. And then they find out genetically it would be a different gender. We have a name for that these days. It's called transgender. Not that it's a new concept, just that we have a new word. Okay.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah,
I'm just making a comment.
We just describe it. Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
We don't actually. Yeah.
We do. In other words, I know sometimes I even just read what they say or think what they say exactly, but it doesn't mean that I feel like that you have to almost intentionally have a queer lens to see the world to fully pick up things that the, in a sense, non-queer, normative world doesn't want you to even acknowledge.
Right, for sure.
So I'm just saying that when they say stuff, you're like, well, there's a name for that. No, I'm just thinking a comment that that it would be nice if it was not such a heteronormative world, and a world where it's only supposed to be like one gender and another gender and that's it, and all this bigotry. Like I'm just saying that it's hard though in archaeology. I'm just bringing this up that it's hard in archaeology because, like they look at artifacts and then see where they are normative to other artifacts and then who's buried and then try to make assumptions like I do, speculations about what it means. So I'm just saying that. But sometimes I know this is a fact that they've found, people buried in the opposite gender or mixed gender, or seemed like everybody was mixed with no gender or whatever, burial. So I'm talking about context of the graves and things. So I'm just saying that this bigotry against trans people, I'm just throwing that out for a second because we're talking about skulls and knowing what is the male and female, and then we can get it wrong.
Yeah, for sure.
Right? But are we though? Because it depends on how a person presents themselves, and we didn't have these cultures that were anti-trans. I think that's the new thing people need to get. Not the trans people were okay, but the anti-trans is more of a new thing. Like I said, it was more than accepting of at least 3 genders, if not 5 or 7. in Europe before 5,000. So it's really after that there's this fixation on male and female in a way that really had not been done before. But that doesn't mean like they wiped out all trans people. Fuck no, they just kept existing, and some cultures were more okay with it than not. Other ones. So it became a mismatch when before it was just common. Then it became a mismatch. It depends on the place or the thing or whatever. But and then nowadays there's flat out bigotry for no fucking reason because we have science and we know fucking better, and there's intersex people also. And anyway, so let's go back to the reading the thing about.
Sure. The juvenile specimen has also been determined to be female through genetic analysis. 3 of the specimens, including the only adult male plus NEO236/skull G, and another adult female labeled as skull E, Devil's Gate 1 or NEO240, who has been genetically determined to be a first-degree relative of NEO235/skull G, have been assigned to mtDNA haplogroup DM4. A previous genetic analysis of one of these adult female specimens determined her mtDNA haplogroup to be D4. Another 3 specimens, including the juvenile female, the Devil's Gate 2 specimen, and another adult female, both the juvenile female and the Devil's Gate 2 specimen, have been determined to be first-degree relatives of the other adult female, and the juvenile female and the Devil's Gate 2 specimen also have been determined to be second-degree relatives of each other. Have been assigned to haplogroup D4. A previous genetic analysis of the Devil's Gate 2 specimen.
It's important because, like, say D, just so you understand. So D is telling you like a main group, right?
Right.
So and then that helps you understand time because say D might have what they call merged or whatever off of another thing.
Right.
And then they'll say a time frame, say it's 50,000, but the 4 that may be 7,000. See what I'm saying? D4. So it's saying this is the parent, but it's actually younger.
Ah, okay.
It's like when it says must be M. Well, that only tells us it could be 65 to 55, 40,000 years old. What M? You got to throw some numbers on there before you.
Right. Yeah, because it says a previous genetic analysis of the Devil's Gate 2 specimen determined her mtDNA haplogroup to be M.
And by the way, MT means what they would call genetically female, and Y DNA is the genetically male.
Ah, interesting.
Yeah.
The only specimen from the cave who has been confirmed to be male through genetic analysis has been assigned to Y DNA haplogroup C2B-F6273/Y6704/Y6708, equivalent to C2B-L1373, the Northern Central Asian, Siberian, and Indigenous American branch of haplogroup C2-M217.
And you're like, wow, why did Damien make me read all that? All I'm trying to show. You're like, man, you're a sadist.
None of that made any sense to me.
So, no, what I'm trying to show is a lot of times I'll just say that C2, and then, or I say C, I don't even use the 2. I just say CM217, which they say down here. They simplify it. I use that a lot. Just when I tell you that the Dane people's connection to the Siberia and the North China area, whatever, that those it's that connection. But I wanted you to read. Look how hard it is.
Yeah.
And all that is telling you how young or whatever its relations.
Right.
So genetics is way more complicated even than I try to do, and I know sometimes what I say sounds complicated.
Yeah. No, it's not straightforward stuff, but
right. But anyways, the point was also
somebody understands it.
Right. Aren't you glad that I understand it? At least enough to talk about it?
For sure.
So anyways, what I'm trying to say though, so what this is really saying is the same as a picture, right? So everybody is relating over to the all over the world or whatever, right? But it doesn't mean these are all equal, but I would say that certainly I know that the ones that went over to the Americas are the ones that is the C whatever, but they already know that anyways, just from the DNA. I'm just saying because it's similar. And all I wanted you to read that whole thing too is to see how long they know, because it's that detailed.
Right.
A lot of times when we talk like, oh, it's this or that, we're using big. There's just same thing what I do, right? I talk about religion. I say, oh, religion kind of did this, and it's kind of shamanism to give you the big picture thing. But that's not accurate if you wanted the full like breakdown of in court, like you have to prove every detail. That ain't gonna make it.
Right.
But to talk to like normal people and to get a general idea of what happened, that's very helpful. And so that's what the pictures are very helpful, because they give you what all that was talking about is how everyone's related. So you can keep reading.
The haplogroup CM217 is now found at high frequencies among Central Asian peoples, indigenous Siberians, and some native peoples of North America. Haplogroup CM217 is the modal haplogroup among Mongolians and most indigenous populations of the Russian Far East, such as the Buryats, northern Tungusic peoples, Niviks, Koryaks.
Niviks, that's the other one. Niviks and Koryaks. Those two are Siberian, and they relate, as you saw on that map, they relate to those other cultures in in Canada and North America, especially, like I said, near Alaska, really.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
What, did I lose my place? Oh, I did. There we are. And Ittlemans. The subclade CP39 is common among males of the indigenous North American peoples, whose languages belong to the Na-Dene phylum. C2B1A1AP39, Canada, USA, found in several indigenous peoples of North America, including some Na-Dene, Algonquin, and or Siouan speaking populations. Males carrying CM130 are believed to have migrated to the Americas some 6,000 to 8,000 years ago, and was carried by non-Dene speaking peoples into the North Pacific coast of North America. The distribution.
So that's like I was saying, the fact that those Siberian cultures, which we talked about, the Koryaks and the Nivets, or however that's pronounced, I'm sorry, I'm
Niviks.
With names, but they relate to the Nadane, and that's what it's saying. And they're the ones that at first, with the Tlingit, go to the Pacific Northwest. And they have shamans.
Okay.
So I say that proves that shamanism is at least 6,000 to 8,000 years old in the Americas. At least. I think it's older, but it's at least that.
For sure, eh? The distribution of haplogroup CM130 is generally limited to populations of Siberia, parts of East Asia, Oceania, and the Americas. Haplogroup C2 M217, the most numerous and widely dispersed C lineage, was once believed to have originated in Central Asia, spread from there into Northern Asia and the Americas, while another theory it originally originated from East Asia. CM217 stretches longitudinally from Central Europe, Turkey to the Wayuu people of Colombia and Venezuela, and latitudinally from the Athabascan peoples of Alaska to Vietnam to the Malay archipelago. The highest frequencies of haplogroup CM217 are found among the populations of Mongolia and Far East Russia, where it is the modal haplogroup. Haplogroup CM217 is the only variety of haplogroup CM130 to be found among Native Americans, among whom it reaches its highest frequency in Na-Dene populations. So, origins of Trans-Eurasian languages traced to Neolithic millet farmers in northeastern China are about 9,000 years ago. That's the heading. A study combining linguistic, genetic, and archaeological evidence has traced the origins of a family of languages including modern Japanese, Korean, Turkish, and Mongolian, and the people who speak them to millet farmers who inhabited a region in northeastern China about 9,000 years ago. The findings outlined on Wednesday document a shared genetic ancestry for the hundreds of millions of people who speak what the researchers call Trans-Eurasian languages across an area stretching more than 5,000 miles or 8,000 kilometers. Millet was an important early crop as hunter-gatherers transitioned to an agricultural lifestyle. There are 98 Trans-Eurasian languages, including Korean, Japanese, and various Turkic languages in parts of Europe, Anatolia, Central Asia, and Siberia, various Mongolic languages, and various Tungusic languages in Manchuria and Siberia. The language family's beginnings were traced to Neolithic millet farmers in the Liao River Valley in an area encompassing parts of the Chinese provinces of Liaoning and Jilin and the region near Inner Mongolia. As these farmers moved across...
Pause for a second.
Oh.
So, just so people know, that Inner Mongolia, because I didn't know when I first... That's actually part of China. But the reason it's part of China... It actually was part of the Mongols in a sense, or the Mongolic tribes, the speaking tribes, people are speaking.
Okay.
People. So Outer Mongolia, which now they just call Mongolia, right? This had to do with also the Russians taking that area, or kind of it being a autonomous region in Russia, and then it gets it's allowed to become Mongolia in a sense. But the Mongolia and Inner Mongolia, really Mongolia should take in a sense, if you cared about borders, should take that part of China, and because it's actually Mongolia, and it was a Chinese land grab to take it away. Or you could say all these people are from Neolithic China anyways, so why have any borders?
Right.
That makes more sense.
Yeah, for sure. As these farmers moved across northeastern Asia over thousands of years, the descendant languages spread north and west into Siberia and the steppes, and east into the Korean peninsula over the sea to the Japanese archipelago. Eurasiatic is a proposed language with many language families historically spoken in northern, western, and southern Eurasia, which typically include Altaic, Mongolic, Tungusic, and Turkic, or the Chukchi Kamchaktan, Eskimo Aleut, Indo-European, and Uralic.
Now, I would say I kind of think that there's a possibility that that's true. That's why I added it. Some people say that they don't think there's a strong enough connection, it's too far.
Okay.
From what I've studied, I'm just saying, and how I see things as more connected and stuff than some people do.
Mm-hmm.
And ideas are moving around, and they move around both ways. And so it's not just like everywhere somewhere. That's what I was trying to say about cultures. Everywhere somewhere is going, it can change because it gets new ideas, new stuff. It's not exactly the same as the one before or whatever. And so then it goes somewhere else and meets new people and gets other ideas. So I'm just cultures. Anyway, so but I was just saying, I have a feeling that this is a high possibility of their relatedness, and I was showing you the DNA that might have spread it all around, and then showing the map that shows all those cultures are kind of connected, and all that DNA, even in Europe and stuff, all the way to the Middle East, or whatever, is showing lower percentages, but you could still see ideas pass around. And so, but you can
for sure. Voiced stops such as D/D/ occur in the Indo-European, in Yanisian, Turkic, Mongolic, or Mongolian, Tungusic, Japonic, and Sino-Tibetan languages.
Right, and so I'll explain that. So Indo-European is all European languages: French, German, Spanish, Greek, English, what we're speaking. The Yinsen, that has to do with Siberia near Lake Balka. Turkic is under Lake Balka. Mongolic under Lake Balka. Tungustic is more like North China, but also under, or in a sense, Mongolic and stuff. Then Japonic is Japan, and this other one is China and Tibet.
Right.
Just so you know.
This it was just this year, like in the last 12 months sometime, that I learned that Sino means China. I swear I never heard the term before.
Yeah.
And then this year I'm hearing it all the time now. So I don't know what I was missing before, but
well, you know me, I like bringing everything. I don't just talk about prehistory. I talk about, language and stuff. Of course, I like prehistory of language too, but because to me, I see this similar thing when people move around, the cultures do change, but a lot of times you get this new evolution of ideas and then things grow from there.
Yeah, for sure. Uralo-Siberian is a hypothetical language family of Uralic, Yukagir, Eskimo Aleut, and besides linguistic evidence, several genetic studies support a common origin in Northeast Asia. So now we got another picture.
And this is showing the genetics without the darker is stronger, showing where it came from in North China, but over the border, right? Because it's not just North China, because the border doesn't matter, but it's also in Siberia. So the darkest part is what I'm talking about, the strongest amount.
Right. That's so I guess 90% match or whatever. Like
correct.
It's got like 0.9.
Right. It's saying that in a sense, if you look at the genetics, you would think that this might have something to do with its origin or close to it.
Mm-hmm.
Do you see what I'm saying?
Yes.
That helps. But what also you can see stronger outside of that. So what are they going to make a new country just for that thing, in a sense? If we did it like, what people, well, let's go back to these, racial, what do they call it? Race realists or whatever.
Yeah.
Oh, it's a real thing. Well, if you would do that, then you'd have to make countries around genetics.
Yeah, that's right.
A real thing.
Yeah. So if you look like you say, like you look at this and it gets slightly darker, it's like slightly lighter as you go out, but there's a huge area that's still deeply related to this CM130 CM130.
Right.
And then there's another region over there that's still like, it's not quite as dark, but it's very related to, it's still like 50%
right. Oh,
related.
there's also one that yes, you exactly. But anyways, this makes it, because they can tell you all these relate to this, and just keep reading names, and Corey can just sit there yawning, like how many names. But when you see it like on a map like this, because you take away names, because names are just people's like areas we drew up,
Yeah, that's right. But it's just a picture of like, the truth is that like the genetics relations are just everywhere.
Yeah. But anyway, but my point was to where it came from. So you see there on the there's Lake Baikal, and they're on the east side of it.
Right. And
on the west and a little bit north is the Yinsen, that of Lake Baikal.
Okay.
That spoke the same language as the Destain all the way in the Americas.
Oh, okay.
So I'm trying to show the connections, but you can go ahead and keep reading.
Okay. So we've got I guess the headline on the picture says males carrying CM130 are believed to have migrated to the Americas some 6,000 to 8,000 years ago and was carried by Na-Dene speaking peoples into the northwest Pacific coast of North America. Yeah, that's the same subtitle there. So we've got another picture.
Right. And this shows you that also it explains how the strongest areas that match C. The other one was trying to show you like it's pinpoint, but if you notice in a bigger sense, they're showing you this one.
Right.
how they're connected, so you can see what happened.
Okay. So
See, and so
yeah. Hongshan culture, 6,722 years ago to 4,922 years ago, is kind of up in this area over here. But
right,
it's all within what is China, right?
right. But a lot more stuff was happening in North China.
Mm,
So South China has some stuff. Like I said, the pottery starts there, so it's not like it is nothing.
right.
But the North is way more advanced cultures. It was.
Okay.
And I don't mean that the other people somehow weren't civilized. Just saying,
No.
it got more complexity.
Right. Yeah. All right. And then we're on to another picture, which is,
The one with the dogs and stuff and the donkey.
yes. Yeah.
Right.
So there's,
You're like, what is all this?
a lot going on here.
Right. So I'm trying to, and like people move with their animals. And this is explaining how animals moved around and that their connections.
Mm.
And so it's showing, and then the time frames are showing when the dogs went where. With
Okay.
people, obviously. They didn't just fly
Right.
by themselves or.
So in a sense, it's like another like vein of evidence of the movement of people.
See, now you get me. I use different, like, because people are like, well, how do you know who did what? And like, well, I try to find out by looking multiple things. How did the food
Right.
get there? How did the animals get there? You know,
Pottery,
okay.
languages,
I
DNA.
care about pottery.
Animals.
Care about, you know, I already brought up languages, genetics. So I'm just saying, when I come up with my ideas, when I say that, even though I'm not a scholar or anything, and I'm not trying to act like I am, I'm just saying I really study and I can think good. And so I just try to use multiple ways of evidence to find out what happened. I don't not like Graham Hancock come up with a theory and try to prove it. I try to look at what the evidence is and then come up with a theory.
Yeah. That's how it's supposed to work.
So, sometimes when I have a theory, then I try to look at the evidence more detailed way and see if it still matches up. So if it could, maybe I need to change a little bit or alter or whatever, it depending on what it looks like, you know. So, but anyways, this is like you said, Corey, and that's what I'm trying to show is, like, people think that, oh, it's too far distances. These ideas that are, even though they're like, if you look at religious ideas, it'll say, oh, there's some in the Americas and some in Europe and some, you know, Middle East and some in Siberia and China, all kind of match. Yeah. Just yeah.
Right. Yeah.
And they're like, well, no, you can't say that because that's too far. And you're not understanding how far people moved. And that's like, this is helping understand. Like 10,000 years ago, all dogs come from Siberia in a sense that are in the Americas. So at least under that point, somebody came in after 10,000 into the Americas. Well, yeah, then the Dane came at 8,000 to 6,000. So we know who did it.
It's interesting. Like I find the argument that it's too far to be kind of ignoring the vastness of the time span we're talking about too.
Yes.
Like we're talking about thousands of years.
Yep.
For things to move across and people to move, like cultures to move, like it's not that hard.
Also, I feel like wanting to say that all the and I'm not saying the mythology the way it's today is the same exactly as it was a long time ago. No, it's definitely different, but it's related.
Yeah.
and so to me, when these ideas are all over, yeah, like you said, they had a lot of time, and these people did. There's evidence. That's why I'm trying to show the first map. There's the genetic evidence to prove it. Oh, here's some linguistic evidence to prove it. Oh, here's some more evidence about the animal husbandry, so we know the dogs did it.
Right.
I mean, we know this for a fact. So, like, cause there used to be talking about the Americas, is there used to be a belief that there was only one migration, that was it. After 12,000, nobody else, till Vikings or whatever. That's not true at all.
Right.
Nope.
Just false.
But anyways, and so that's what I'm trying to show here and trying to explain. And you see Lake Balka, right? Going back to this map. So you see Lake Balka, right? And I have they're buried at 7,000 years ago. They buried dogs, right? And then this one has like a stone in its mouth,
right?
Like a red stone in its mouth. They're doing something sacred, right? And the other one has got no head. They're doing something. I think they're sacrificing the dogs, which is what the Koraks do. They put dogs on poles, like spear through them, and they kill them in a sense. But then they put them at the head of their camp, and that protects them from evil spirits. The dog does. And then also this relates to religion, because there's a whole bunch of religions that relate to dog stuff. And I think it does go back to Lake Balka, even though those weren't the original people that I said were shamanism at 24. You know, it's totally new people now. That's what I was trying to say. They came from China 10,000 years ago, totally took over that area. Whether it was nice or not, I don't know. But a lot of the females are the other people. So you take that for what it's worth.
Yeah.
What do you
Maybe
think?
Less than nice.
Rape and pillage and kill the men. I think that might have happened.
I don't think they just moved in and were super friendly about it.
Well, the local women only wanted the new guys.
Yeah, that's right.
Yeah, come on now. Do I need to teach you any culture at all? We have not changed that much.
Yeah, that's right. All right. So now we're on to a picture of Sky Father, Sky Mother, High Gods.
Right. So, and this is right here. I'm sure, like you said, about how I like to beat a dead horse and show you every line that I can. There's more too that they're connected, but I don't have pictures of. But this is trying to show you. So the colors have to do with languages. Okay. How languages are all connected. Okay. And you notice they don't fit the borders of our current geopolitical nonsense.
Go figure. Yeah,
those languages, if we broke up, in other words, back to the race realists, if you want to break up countries, by race or something, language would probably be more efficient. But even then, we still would, would not end up with countries the way that we conceive of them today.
No, not even close.
Right?
No.
Not even close. Right? Totally no way. So, but going back to my point, as you said, our hinting about anarchism, if you notice that this, to me, every way possible, you could scientifically show how nonsense states are, including that they don't even make sense, like nationalism and all that dumb shit too, right?
Yeah.
Going back to, this is a good show for getting you to stop being a racist.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
There's hope for you. Mm-hmm.
So we've got these ideas are my you must have wrote this part. These ideas are my speculations from the evidence.
Right.
I'm still researching the gods' origins all over the world, so it is very complicated, but I'm very smart and willing to look deep if necessary, which going very deep doesn't seem to be needed here when I'm trying to actually understand the evolution of gods and goddesses. I'm sure of a few things and less sure of others, but even in the stuff I'm not fully grasping, I'm still slowly figuring it out, how to explain it to others. But as I research more, I am understanding things a little better, though I'm still working on understanding it all or something close, and thus always figuring out more. So we've got the Sky Father / Sky God, an Egyptian, Nut, Sky Mother, and Geb, Earth Father.
Egypt, right, so they just have it backwards.
Right, they got it flipped. Turkic Mongolic, they've got Tengri or Tenger Etzeg is the Sky Father, and Ece or Gezar Ij is the Earth Mother. That's Trans-Eurasian.
Oh, and by the way, I'm trying to show this. I do think all these myths are in a very loose way. They're connected or shared or
Right.
transferred or whatever.
In
Or
Hawaiian,
speculate.
right. Hawaiian, we got the Wakia is the Sky Father, and Papahana Moku, Earth Mother, Austronesian, New Zealand or Maori, Rain Ginui, Sky Father, and Papa Tuanuku, Earth Mother, from Austronesian. Proto-Indo-European, Dias Fader, or Sky Father is the Sky Father, or Dagom or Plethwi is the Earth Mother. Indo-Aryan, Diaspita, Sky Father, or Prithi Mata, Earth Mother, from Indo-European. Italic, Jupiter, Sky Father, Juno, Sky Mother, Indo-European. Etruscan, Tinia, Sky Father, and Uni, Sky Mother, from Tercinian and Italy. Pre-Indo-European, Hellenic, Greek, Zeus, Sky Father, and Hera, Sky Mother, who started as an Earth goddess, from Indo-European. Nordic, Dagger, Sky Father, and Not, Sky Mother, from Indo-European. Slavic, Perun, Sky Father, and Mokosh, Earth Mother, from Indo-European. Illyrian is Dia Paturos, Sky Father, and Mesopic Damaturas, Earth Mother, potentially, from Indo-European. Albanian, Zojs, Sky Father, and then we don't have anything for an Earth Mother.
Yeah, they don't know.
And that's from Indo-European. The Baltic, Perkunas, Sky Father, and Sol, from Sky Mother, Indo-European. Germanic, Tyr, Sky Father, and Unknown, Indo-European. Colombian, Musica, Bochica, Sky Father, Huitheka, Sky Mother, from Chibchan. Aztec.
Native America.
Aztec is Quetzalcoatl, Sky Father, and Xochiquetzal, from Sky Mother, from Udo Aztecan. Incan, Viracocha, for Sky Father, and Mama Run Taikaya, Sky Mother, from Quechuan. China has Tian or Shangdi, Sky Father, and Di, Earth Mother, from Sino-Tibetan. Sumerian, Assyrian, and Babylonian has Anu or An as the Sky Father, and Ki for the Earth Mother. Finnish, Ukko, Sky Father, Aka, Earth Mother, Finno-Ugric. Sami has Horagalis, Sky Father, and Ravna, Earth Mother, from Finno-Ugric. Puebloan, Zuni has Apoyan Tachu, Sky Father, and Awetelin Sida, Earth Mother. Pueblan Hopi has Tawa, Sky Father, and Kokyang Wuti, or Spider Woman, or Grandmother, for their Earth Mother, from Udo Aztecan. And then Puebloan Navajo is the Cho Shan Oi, Sky Father, and S. and Lehi, Earth Mother, from the Na Dene.
So now that you've read that and looked at the picture, does that make you think that no one was relating with each other?
Right. Yeah, no, it seems like there's at least enough similarities that you could say, like you say, like this idea moved and changed as it moved and got over
Yeah.
here, and it was a different thing, but similar and related. So,
Right. That's what I'm so and I tried to show it multiple ways. That we know the DNA, we know that the animals move that way, we know,
Right.
the language moved that way, and we know their mythology moved that way. Well,
yeah. Yeah, no, seems pretty, I don't know, it seems like they're related to me, but I mean, I'm far from an expert.
right.
It just seems like pretty clear that they at least have enough similarities that you can say like they may have had a common root.
Yeah.
And like you say, you show how people and ideas moved across and languages moved across. So, we got Skyfather
Right. So I haven't 100% proven it. I'm just
Right.
showing it to be a very good speculation.
Yes. Yeah. It's pretty solid.
Yeah. Well, thank you. It's not because I'm trying to prove my idea. That I got this idea from looking at the facts and realizing, wow, everything is doing this similar thing.
Yeah. Skyfather / Sky Mother, high gods or similar gods / goddesses of the sky, more loosely connected, seeming arcane mythology across the earth, seen in Siberia, China, Europe, Native Americans, or First Nations people, and Mesopotamia.
And then I try to show, another map to what I kind of think the area where these mythologies came from. And it does relate to, as you can tell, China.
Yeah.
You see it?
Yeah, we've got looks like.
And the 1-2 is because those two cultures actually relate to each other.
Yeah, I see that.
So in Siberia, exactly in that area, and then over to the other one, those are related linguistically. You're just trying to show how that I know that these so they're sharing a linguistic thing. It's not a crazy thing that they share. I don't know, their religion,
other
also.
things,
Their language and their religion. Wow, what a shot there, and their genetics. Wow,
weird. That's so weird. They share multiple things,
right? So that's what I'm trying to show, and then show why what I think happened is a reasonable explanation when you look at what I think matches the genetics, matches the language, and matches to me the religious concepts.
Yeah.
Corey goes, nope, not going to buy it.
Seems reasonable to me. I don't know.
Yeah.
And then these ideas are my speculations from the evidence. 1. Central Eurasian Neolithic individual from Tajikistan around 8,000 years ago and approximately 8,200
Yeah, so what
years
you're
ago.
reading, my thing from the speculation of the evidence, I'm just saying that what the ideas of the gods and everything kind of having a relation is my speculation. And then you're just reading evidence from a Nature article. Just so it didn't sound like you were now reading my ideas.
Oh, okay. Yours was just these ideas are my speculations from the evidence.
I meant the ones above, talking about where the religious ideas originated. That's what I'm saying. In that gray circle, I think somewhere from the Altai Mountains, which is just west of Lake Balka, and then east Lake Balka into North China.
Okay. It's a pretty good area. So
that Devil's Gate people, so all the way in a sense over to that area, all is where I think these mythology came from. That pretty much most of what we think of paganism or even religion in the world, Egypt, Mesopotamia, you know what I'm saying? Germans, I mean, all of it is related to Native Americans. Oh wow, it's all related. Going back to this thing.
Oh, did I lose you? This is why we have backup.
Wow. Yeah.
You back?
Yeah, back. but anyway, so that I was just trying to show that I like to keep saying it's my speculation so people don't get confused when I give you evidence and then my ideas about the evidence.
Right.
Or at least I try. I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I do try to make an effort to make sure I state that.
For sure.
And then I try to show why I'm so convinced that I'm probably right.
Right. Yeah.
Or at least why I'm convinced. And you may not be. But I think it's pretty reasonable. But anyways, you keep going.
Okay. Yeah, so I sort of already read some of this. One Central Eurasian Neolithic individual from Tajikistan around 8,000 years ago and approximately 8,200 years ago. Yuzini Oleni Ostrov group from Karelia in Western Russia, formed by 19 genomes affinity to Villa Bruna and ancestry than all the other Eastern hunter-gatherer groups.
Right. And that Verbilia, this is talking about the culture that had the first R1b DNA that came from Siberia.
Okay.
So, and I told you it came through the Middle East, and then its lineage stayed in the Middle East, became the Trinitolitan culture, whatever it's called, and then the Nufian culture. They shared lineage of 50%. So that's why I think that they influenced the cultures that eventually may go back to Tepe. But I think that it's wrong to think that they were the only influence. Like what he says, one culture. Wrong. This one culture had some ideas. These other people had other ideas. Because there already was ones that had, even from Siberia, had come into the Middle East like 30,000 years ago.
Right.
So, and they went all the way to North Africa. So those people had already brought some new ideas. And I do think that because after that, at 23, so that those were not that far from 30, those cultures interact and make the first, in Israel, the first proto, agriculture. And that interesting three-legged crow symbol, or whatever that is,
right.
It's associated, I believe, with the sun, but that's my speculation. Okay. But I'm just saying that because I just look at what the Chinese belief of a three-legged crow, and that's what they say it is.
Right.
So I'm like, well, and then it's not saying I know that it is, but especially with the old stuff, but you culturally, and I can look at it and go, okay, at least I can get a thinking that's not my own. I would never have thought of the sun and a dark crow that has three legs. This doesn't even make sense. To me, at least, right? It would not make sense. So, but it's important. That's why I really work hard to do is really understand the religions. Not my bias, not how I would understand it, because that right there, I would never understand. Three-legged crow equals sun.
Yeah.
Never. Oh. I would have never guessed that. If it had been a game show, never would have got that.
Right.
Is it a sun or is it a black hole? And I would go,
who knows, eh? Like
black hole?
Yeah.
It's a crow, right?
Anything, something darker than the sun.
You would not go, oh, it's sun for sure. You would not do that. I would think naturally. But that's why I think it's important. That's why I said some atheists.
Oh.
Yeah.
You're back again.
All right. So go ahead and read my thoughts real quick about paganism.
All right. Damien's thoughts on evolution of paganism. Paganism, 12,000 years old, related to pre-capitalism. Paganism, 7,000 to 5,000 years old, related to capitalism. World War Zero, elite and their slaves. Paganism, 5,000 years old, progressed organized religion and the state, related to kings and the rise of the state. Paganism, 4,000 years old, related to the first moralistic gods, then the origin time of monotheism. Arcane capitalism, primitive capital socialism, primitive capital private ownership, means of production, market capitalism, class discrimination, and petite bourgeoisie, smaller capitalists. Arcane equals complicated and therefore understood or known by only a few people. To Damien, societies start with primitive anarchism and socialism at least 100,000 years ago and are seen in animist-only thinking that is now largely limited to southern Africa today. Then they lose systemic anarchism, possibly by 50,000 to 40,000 years ago, but keep socialism or primitive communism with the emergence of totemism, largely limited to Europe, and then spreading out from there. And to Damien, arcane/primitive capitalism emerges at or around 7,000 to 5,000 years ago in Central Europe, especially southern Germany or surrounding areas, Czechoslovakia and Austria, and then spread out from there. 7,522 to 6,522 years ago, linear pottery culture, which Damien thinks relates to arcane capitalism's origins.
Yep. Right on.
Cool. Well, there was a couple times I wasn't sure you were coming back, but
hey, like
we made it through.
I think
we made it through.
So, what did you think about China? Are you starting to see its importance as greater than you thought?
Oh, I mean, I guess, yeah, I think that's fair to say. I don't know that I really thought that much about China before.
Well, see what I'm saying?
Yeah, so I don't know where I estimated its importance previously, but now it's certainly showing that it had a huge influence on the entire world.
The entire world. There you go. And that, so once again, too, since we all do share these Chinese religions, not me personally, but
right,
the beginning of it. But you see too, like how ridiculous this bigotry is.
Yeah,
including religious bigotry. It's like, fucking stupid as hell.
Yeah, I mean, it's just further evidence to show how humans are humans, and like we all branched out of these connected places and kind of like okay, so languages moved all over the place, but and they changed and yeah, we're here now, but like not for any like arbitrary reason. Nobody decided that this was what was going to happen. It was just the way that it fucking moved. So we're not, I don't know. I guess racism is dumb. Nationalism is dumb.
Right. They are. But isn't it nice to have a position beyond just that to make sense?
Oh yeah. No, that's right. It's firmly rooted in like lots of like ancient, lots of history. So.
Right, and that's why I wanted to give this kind of perspective, because I feel like not saying I'm the only anarchist that does anything good or socialist or whatever. I'm just saying that I feel like I have a niche that I can utilize in a way that other people haven't done this kind of research like I have.
Yeah, exactly. No, I think it's helpful for people to see this stuff.
Yeah, did you see that the video got 163 views?
I didn't even see that.
Fast.
That's pretty good. Was that's one of the newer ones?
That's the one we just did last time.
Oh, like our last China one. Wow.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So I was like, wow, it's like, 2 weeks and it's already doing good. And
yeah, not bad.
But like I said, I thought that this was, a good subject to address. But also, like I said, I wanted to tie in all the things I want to talk about shamanism and all this, and I think that this helps. Like I said, learning all this really helps see that it's all kind of connected and how it changed and evolved and stuff. Like I said, that's why I told you that to me, the best explanation of religion is it's a cultural product, just like language. That's it.
For sure.
Hate to break the news to you.
Yeah, that's right.
But like I said, even if it somehow is some sacred truth people want to believe, well, then you have to see that we all have it. Stop being a bigot.
Yeah, that's right.
I mean, seriously. Look. It's not I'm making it up.
Yeah, it's, I don't know. The divisions that people create between people, it seems like, I don't know, pretty clearly like backwards and just created just for their own, I don't know, superiority or what have you.
Selfishness. You can tell someone individualist, selfishness person, you know, obviously the relative of a billionaire, but no. No,
but entirely
can't
could
blame
be
the family for the actions of the billionaire.
That's true. Yeah, that's true.
No, but what I'm trying to say is an ancient billionaire, right? A person with that mentality. Because to me, this is what people that totally get wrong. It is not a problem that someone somehow gets wealth. It's how you get it. But there's another big problem with me. Even if you have wealth, you should use it ethically, which would mean you should help people with that wealth, not hoard wealth. That is unethical.
Yeah, and I mean, we know, like, we can say like pretty solidly that people don't become billionaires without exploiting people and without utilizing unethical means. So,
but my point would also, like I said, even if somehow that it got there ethically, which I don't think they can, but I'm just saying, even if they did, that my issue is secondary. Okay, and if you have wealth, even if somehow miraculously you get it ethically, well, then ethically you need to give it away, because that would be what's ethical.
Yeah,
hoarding all this wealth while people are suffering and dying, or can't even, have enough stuff to go to school, or even be able to go to school, or this is not good. This is not even ethical at all.
No, that's right.
So, including China, who has a bunch of billionaires. In fact, more billionaires, I think, than America. But what's even crazy is, But my point is that there's too much of this selfishness, which is why I really think that anarchism is a good thing. Not that individualist idiots should, but anarchism is a good thing because, like I said, if you look at the facts, really look at how much we're connected. Seriously, Corey, right? That's what this show tries very hard to do, is to show everything is connected.
Yep.
And things evolve. And you got to grasp that, and
yeah, for sure.
And also, that it's important, to have intellectual honesty. Try to do the best you can to say where you got things, but also it's try to present the information in the most ethical way. Don't mislead or whatever, like the Grant Hancock, but worse than that, even like the ancient alien shit, like the so-called History Channel. What the fuck?
Yeah. That show's been going for so long. Yeah. Just making shit up all the time.
Like, why even talk to someone who's like, I'm a ancient alien conspiracy theorist? Oh, that's nice. I wouldn't think, let's make a show about that. And worse is that how popular it is. Like, what the? Or that they go, hey, those are good arguments. Those are not good arguments.
Yeah,
what I presented was a lot better argument, right? Because I show all these facts doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's right.
And then also, my claim is not like Atlantis. All I'm saying is these things that look the same are related.
Yeah, that's right. When we track languages and DNA and animals and when we track all these things,
and then I don't
and it just so happens that their ideas
claim, right? I don't make the gigantic claim. I make the small claim that these things that are related and we think it couldn't be, but even though they look like it, they are. That's it.
Yeah.
It's not some Atlantis is real and space alien. No, you get my point. I got a lot of evidence, or what I'm trying to offer as evidence, and then my claim is not outrageous.
Yeah, that's right. It's like the opposite of a Mott and Bailey. Right? Like, because the Mott and Bailey is like you make a big claim and then you pretend you're making a small claim to defend it.
Right.
But so you're doing the opposite. Like you're gathering all this evidence, you're making a small claim, and you're trying to find all this evidence to support it. And like,
Right, or why it's why it could be reasonable. Why you think, oh, it can't be, and then you're like, well, but you know the evidence? It all kind of points to the same thing.
Right. Yeah.
Anyways, but so that you get what I'm saying is that I try to use all these ways to show why, and then I'm not making an outrageous claim. Although,
For sure.
let me just say, I'm sure there's an archaeologist that thinks I'm outrageous. Because I told the one guy, I think these one cultures are, I said the word influencing others. Nope, you can't talk about that far, and you can't talk about cultures and relate to others. If you're using DNA, all you're doing is heredity. And I'm like, in heredity, I didn't keep arguing, but to me, heredity, let's say, hold on, heredity equals people. People, when they move, they have thinking and tools and ideas. And anyway,
you know how A plus B equals C?
No, but my point is, I thought that was a very big reasonable claim to say that I think these might be related, and influenced by these different cultures, and this is why, because the DNA and these. Oh no. But I'm just making a comment that, so I'm not saying there's not someone who might think that my stuff is too much, because some of those archaeologists, they just, especially when it comes to DNA, I don't know why, a large portion of them, archaeologists and even some anthropologists, don't really, I don't want to say believe in, but they don't totally trust DNA, or they think that the conclusions are too big from or stuff or something. Like the one guy that came on our channel said that we'll all trust it in like 5 or 10 years when it gets better.
What do you mean? How long has it been going on? Like, it's not like it's the 70s when DNA was just introduced into the sciences.
Right, but also as a rationalist, this is my answer. Yes, and when you show me correctly what the correct thing is, and if I'm in error, I'll need to adapt or change it or remove it.
Sure.
Then I will do it then, which I have done. If you can show that everything I just showed you is wrong, then I'm going to change my thinking, because I'm not like fixed on the thinking.
Right.
I'm just trying to present and understand the evidence. So, but I'm just saying that people can always disagree,
Sure.
And like I told you, it doesn't even bother me if people disagree. I've presented and I feel comfortable with why I think it is what it is.
Yeah.
And, I can't, force anyone to agree to that, if they don't want to. So, and they don't have to. I'm just saying that this is why I feel that I have reasoned speculations, that I'm not doing some wild nonsense and talking about space aliens and, and stupid bullshit. I'm trying to really show, here's the evidence. Look at what it means. Here's the evidence. Look what it means. Look why I think that. Here's, So, but yeah, cool. I think that China is really fun, and the other ones are getting even more interesting when there's the culture keeps advancing.
Yeah, we got a few more episodes to do on China, so that'll be good.
So, anyways, I think it was great, and I guess everybody will. Oh, go ahead and tell us what you're doing.
Oh, yeah, I actually did some really good interviews lately. They aren't only 2 of them are on for we're live on YouTube.
Oh yeah,
that's The Skeptical Leftist, for anybody who doesn't know my YouTube channel. But yeah, they're coming down, and then me and Justin are going to be doing more Red reviews starting again this week. And I've got lots of episodes in processing and in editing process to be published. So
right on. I watched several of your stuff.
Nice.
Yeah,
I appreciate that. Well, I'm trying a thing where I make the thumbnails clickbaity and the titles clickbaity, so that people will find it on the homepage and go, "Oh, I gotta watch that."
Right on. Well, I try to share your stuff too, because I do want you to get some more support. I think that you do good stuff, and I think that you should be acknowledged.
I appreciate that. I work hard on it, but
you do. And I decided to say I appreciate it. I also wanted to say that I know you feel bad having to do 2 jobs. I did 2 jobs all the time. I used to do I was doing. I drove basically a flatbed, and on an off-road side, which is not normal for me, but most stuff I did was on the road. But this was an off-road site where I was part of a team that was building a freeway.
Okay.
Not a freeway. Take it back. Toll road. Anyways, a toll road. So when I was doing that, I forgot where I was going with that.
You were doing 2 jobs.
Oh yeah, 2 jobs. Yeah. So I was working at that thing, right? The whole week I would do that off road, help build a freeway, right? Then on the weekends I would go do household moving, go move people.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Which a lot of like truckers consider that the most low form, just so you know, because I know you've mentioned how what people think and stuff. I don't really care, but I'm just saying people think of bed buggers. They call them like names and stuff. They don't consider it like real truck drivers, right? You're not truck drivers. You're just helping people move. Anyways, but I drove a big rig, so I mean,
whatever then. Yeah,
whatever. I was driving a big truck.
Yeah.
But anyway, but I'm saying I worked the whole weekend. So I would work the weekend and I'd work the week. So I worked every day of the week to try to survive. I would teach because I had to pay for rent and stuff. It was expensive and it just a victim of capitalism. But like I said, I feel like I was being a champion because I did whatever it took to make ends meet. And so I worked my fucking ass off, every fucking day. I had no fucking day off. Yeah. And so I'm just, because I was working 2 jobs. But I'm just saying, if you have to do that, you should never feel like you're the bad thing. You're the fucking victim of capitalism.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think I'm gonna be I'm probably gonna look for like something part-time, like for like an actual job, which I might have to adjust some life stuff that way, but doing gig work like DoorDash, like I tried out DoorDash again yesterday. I used to do DoorDash regularly and like gig work all the time for like 6 months. And it's not worth it. Like in the end, I made less than $10 an hour and my gas still has to come out of that. So like, it's not worth it. But minimum wage here is $13 an hour, so I should be able to go get a minimum wage job for part-time hours,
right?
And
I think that you're a champion for doing that, for your family. So that's all I'm saying is you shouldn't. Why should it's like someone gets raped and they feel bad? You got raped. You're the victim. Why should you? You shouldn't feel bad.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm just saying you're the victim. You shouldn't feel bad. And like I said, anyways, as an anarchist, I always try to apply it to everything, including thinking about how I think.
Yeah.
Why am I only following the rules they set? Why am I only associating feelings to what that cultural idea says is true?
Right.
Right?
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
I mean, there's this person who works 2 jobs, sometimes 3 jobs, Corey, to make sure his family eats. Should we morally think good of him or not?
Well, he's doing what he needs to, that's for sure.
Well, if you get what I'm saying, though.
Yep, that's right. No, I hear you for sure. I'm I guess part of me is like depressed that I have to do that. Like it's a problem.
It is depressing, and I feel for you. Yeah,
it's not right that's how the world.
It isn't right. No one should work full time and can't even pay rent and stuff. This is not. This is capitalism bullshit.
Yeah.
What the hell?
Yeah.
And they always talk about inflation, and and then they go, "Oh, don't raise wages. That raises inflation." Yeah.
Yeah, because it's always, but you can't sacrifice profits, right? Like that's the thing. Like somehow profits are always higher, and then they claim that it has nothing to do with profits. Why inflation is higher? Well, our buying power has literally gone down every year since the 70s. Like, and they raise interest rates so that businesses will lay more of us off so that more of us are suffering, and it will decrease our buying power and slow inflation. Like it's the hoarding of wealth that causes inflation. It's not us, it's them.
Right, and I
Shit
think
drives me crazy.
that a lot of these statist mentalities latch on this nationalism, and then they make value judgments on monetary power.
Right.
In other words, if you have a high monetary power, we see you as civilized or good or what, you know, whatever, you know. But the ones that are not, oh well, you know, they're not as good.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like people don't understand that first world, third world, second world. You know what I'm talking about? People only use third world, right? But they use it incorrectly.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Because first world and second world and third world was who was not in the World War. Right. Third world, no third world country in a sense, in no big way, was in the World War too. So because it wasn't in the war, it was considered a different thing, a category. Right,
because the World War, and actually my partner and I talk about this sometimes too, because the World War was actually a European war with Canada and the US in it. Okay, you know.
So you get what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, for sure.
But then later they're like, people associate poverty with the non-war fighting countries.
Right.
And so then they call it third world countries and meaning poor.
Yeah, that's right.
When that's actually not what it originally was meaning. But you know, bigotry will always fuck some shit up.
And then they started using the term developing countries.
Oh yeah.
As though like they aren't being halted from development by capitalists and the International Monetary Fund and the debt that they've been forced to accumulate because they were colonized and they had to buy their decolonization from the European countries that colonized them.
And all these rich European countries literally got rich because they stole from these countries that they call developing.
And there's still multiple countries in the continent of Africa that are paying taxes to France for nothing. for the, I don't know, pleasure of having been colonized by France for some reason. Like, what a scam. What a scam.
It's always been a scam. All of it. But that's the same way to what I tell you, that just because people need to not get it wrong, just because I'll vote in an election that benefits people around me does not mean I think that shit has anything to do with any world that I want to create. It doesn't.
Yeah, no, that's right.
But if you're telling me that I can go do something, just think of this without saying it was voting. There's a behavior that I could engage in that would help all the colored people and LGBTQ people around you. And all you have to do is this one behavior. I would like, well, what is it? I would be interested. I'm just making a comment. That's how I approach it.
What's this thing I can do that will help?
That's I know that it's worse if Republicans get in.
Yeah,
it absolutely is.
Yeah, it is objectively. So
objectively is. So it is not that I like Democrats, or something, or think that way. Even if there's a good Democrat, think that way is the great way. It isn't. Even the people they think is the most far left progressive. Yeah, I'm way far left than that.
Yeah, that's right.
And so
most of them have been corrupted by the system too. So
yeah, so like those are centrists to me that you call the far left. So I'm just there's nobody in that party that I really, really would relate to.
Joe Biden is a conservative.
Yes, he is. No, I totally agree. Joe Biden is a conservative. And he said he loved capitalism. But anyways, and he also was only like 2 spaces in a sense to the left of Trump. So he's not very far from Trump, actually.
No, that's right.
But anyways, but even the ones that are, like say Bernie Sanders is past the centrist or near the center or something, but only past barely, you know.
Yeah.
So but he's still like light years from me. But I'm just saying, or probably Corey, but
Yeah.
My point is that they think that, but if it comes down to that, there's a behavior that I can do to save a lot of people that are of color and people, you know what I'm saying? It's not an option. I need to help. And so I'm just saying why I, would vote, not because I believe in Joe Biden or any of this crap.
Right. Right.
Capitalism and how a society should be, you should get some free shit. What the fuck's more free shit? Why the hell did the people not have free college? What the fuck?
Yeah.
Now,
That's right.
I mean, I'm just saying, free. If they said, what should a state do? Give free shit. That's what it should do. That should be its only thing.
That's right.
Or protection. Okay, it protects us and gives us free shit.
Yeah.
And protect us does not mean kill us in the fucking street when we're unarmed.
That's
right. What the fuck?
Yeah.
That's not protection. So I'm just saying Joe Biden thinks that is. I don't agree with him. No. So I'm just saying that, but that still doesn't mean that I don't know for a fact, especially I live in Florida, where it would be very helpful to get more like people that are at least bigoted voting.
Yeah, you got to get rid of that Ron DeSantis fuckface.
Piece of garbage. Yeah, he's a fucking bigot. Piece of garbage. I'm just saying that. So if I'm here and there's some behavior I can do, like I've gone and helped the food bank. I've given to homeless. I've gone and teach children.
Yeah,
I do what it needs to be helpful. And if you're telling me I can help 1 million people or thousands of people all over the United States just by voting, well, what the fuck?
Yeah.
I'm just saying why I do. Just also let people know that does not mean that I ever tell someone who says I don't want to vote. That is their choice. I do not, and I totally, this is something I'm against. This shit of that you automatically have to vote if you're a citizen.
Right.
Go fuck yourself. I'm an anarchist. I do not agree with that. I'm just saying I do it because, and I tell you why I do it. I don't tell people, and I never say, you never hear me say that, oh, well, if you choose not to vote, that's wrong. If you choose not to vote, that's your choice.
Yep.
I'm telling you why I do. I don't have, but I'm an anarchist, so I don't have some big skin in the game. Like, whatever. I just want people not to be hurt so much. Fuck.
Yeah.
Can we have that?
Apparently not.
Yeah. But anyways.
Yeah.
I appreciate, chatting with you as always, Corey.
For sure.
And I look forward to next time. And I will send you number 3, but I think I might split it in half and say 3 part A, part B.
Sounds good.
So, yeah. Right on.